Chapter 1501. One could not blame Dong Wei for thinking like that. In the Moon Illumination sect, even those few saint-stage powerhouses, including the sect leader, might not have been able to take out a 3-star offensive Dao talisman either. However, Bai Li Hong, who was a 3-star saint inscription master, might have some ways to obtain the 3-star offensive Dao talisman. Young Master Duan, it's indeed our Ouyang clan who is in the wrong in this matter. Even I as a clan leader would never expect that Ouyang Shan would turn out to be this undaunted and ruthless. I never thought that he would be daring enough to have covetous thought towards you to the point that he'd actually lay a murderous hand on you. Looking at Duan Lingtian, Ouyang Ba told him apologetically, and when he reached the end of his sentence, he put on a relief facade right away. It's a great thing that always blessed are the good men. Ouyang Shan has also been executed successfully, and this is a happy ending to all. Happy ending to all. Duan Lingtian smirked coldly and stared at Ouyang Ba deeply with interest, causing him to feel slightly guilty right away. However, no matter what, Ouyang Shan was still our second elder of the Ouyang clan, so although he's already dead, our Ouyang clan will still have to take up the responsibility for this matter. Even though our clan can't take out any 3-star offensive Dao talisman, we're still willing to offer other things as compensation. Besides, we're also willing to offer more to help you get over the shock, young Master Duan. As the current clan leader of the Ouyang clan, there was no doubt that Ouyang Ba was also a smart person as well. The moment he saw how his son was still breathing and intact, he could already faintly guess Duan Lingtian and Dong Hui's intentions. There was no doubt that they wanted to seize this chance to extort money from their Ouyang clan so that they would need to sacrifice something. Therefore, before Duan Lingtian could open his mouth, he had already taken the initiative to offer this option sensibly. As for the matter regarding Ouyang Qing, he did not say anything further because he knew that there was no need anymore. Clan leader Ouyang is indeed a straightforward person. Since you're this candid, of course, it wouldn't be nice for me to keep nitpicking on this matter. You can just bring Ouyang Qing back with you right away. However, I hope that you'll show more of your sincerity in some matters. Otherwise, this matter might not have ended yet. Even though Duan Lingtian was taken aback by Ouyang Ba's sensibility, he did not have the intention to keep nitpicking on this matter since his plan had already been accomplished. However, he still planned to extort from Ouyang Ba a little more. From his words, there was no doubt that he was warning him not to take out some random things just to brush this off. Of course, of course. Upon hearing Duan Lingtian's words, Ouyang Ba was so frightened that cold sweat broke out all over his body. Just now, he had indeed planned to offer some random, inexpensive things to brush the man off. However, right now, that did not seem possible anymore. He could not take the risk to offend Duan Lingtian, and neither could the entire Ouyang clan behind him. In 3 days, I'll pay you a visit at your place with Senior Brother Wei. By that time, I hope that you've already prepared your sincerity well, clan leader Ouyang. I am personally interested in those items that are so unusual that not everybody can identify them. Duan Lingtian took a long, meaningful look at Ouyang Ba and added. His last sentence, on the other hand, was implied for the sake of his 7 treasures exquisite pagoda. Perhaps, among those unnameable materials in the Ouyang clan's collections, there might be some materials that were needed to repair the 7 treasures exquisite pagoda. Right now, although the 7 treasures exquisite pagoda had been repaired up to the 3rd level, Duan Lingtian was still not satisfied yet. The 7 treasures exquisite pagoda had a total of 7 levels, so even though 3 levels had already been repaired, it was still barely half of the entire pagoda. Young Master Duan, don't worry. I'll make sure that you're satisfied. Even though his heart was bleeding, Ouyang Ba still forced a smile to respond to Duan Lingtian. Then, after bidding goodbye to Duan Lingtian and Dong Wei, he brought Ouyang Qing back with him. When they left, Ouyang Qing, who had managed to survive this disaster, had joy in his eyes. Trailing obediently behind Ouyang Ba, he did not dare to utter a word at all. No matter what, it was him alone who had caused this trouble, so he was feeling terribly guilty. After leaving the 9 sect alliances headquarters, seeing how Ouyang Ba did not utter a word, Ouyang Qing felt uneasy. Father, just scold me if you want. I want to know the truth. Ouyang Ba finally opened his mouth, but he did not have the intention to scold Ouyang Qing. His tone was horrifyingly calm. Upon hearing this, Ouyang Qing did not dare to hide the truth anymore. Narrating in detail, he told the ins and outs of the story. When he mentioned the part where Ouyang Shan was killed, he noticed that his father's body quivered a little, so he quickly added on, "It's I who caused Grandpa Shan to be killed. It's all my fault. Everything is my fault." The fact that you know that it's all your fault means that you haven't reached the hopeless stage yet. Now that second elder has been killed because of you, don't talk about yourself, even I feel guilty towards him too. Wu Yangba remarked indifferently. Yes, I feel guilty towards Grandpa Shan. Wu Yangqing quickly nodded his head and dared not refute at all. This time, after we go back, I plan to send you to the Nether Ridge. As a glimpse of brilliance flashed across Wu Yangba's eyes, the tiny ounce of remaining doubt in his eyes disappeared without a trace as it was replaced by determination. The Nether Ridge. When Wu Yangqing heard Wu Yangba's words, he suddenly turned horrified. Almost howling, he yelled out, "No! Father, I won't go to the Nether Ridge. Father, you can't do this. I'm your only son." When Wu Yangba heard his pleading, his face turned cold right away. His only son? Well, it might have still been true the last time, but just some months ago, the concubine that he had outside had given birth to an illegitimate son. In the entire Wu Yang clan, only he and his trusted followers knew about this. The reason he did not announce it was that he was worried that Wu Yangqing would inflict harm on his other son. Besides, due to Wu Yangqing's existence, the entire Wu Yang clan would also discriminate against his illegitimate son. After that illegitimate son of his was born, he did not have the intention to bring him to the Wu Yang clan, although he was very ecstatic about it. He had made up his mind to pass on the Wu Yang clan to Wu Yangqing. However, Wu Yangqing had really let him down this time, causing him to make up his mind to send him to the Nether Ridge. If Wu Yangqing never came back after he left, this would only mean that he had an unlucky life. By that time, he would bring his illegitimate son back to the Wu Yang clan and train him as his next successor. "Father, I'll die." Since the ancient times, none of our Wu Yang clan members who went into the Nether Ridge managed to come out alive. Wu Yangqing continued to roar as though he was unwilling to go to the Nether Ridge no matter what. "You're wrong. There was somebody who walked out of that Nether Ridge alive before from our Wu Yang clan," Wu Yangba replied nonchalantly. "But that was 10,000 years ago. Besides, he's the only special case in our Wu Yang clan. In the past 10,000 years or so, there've been 10,000 people, if not 8,000, from our Wu Yang clan who went to the Nether Ridge, but none of them have emerged alive before." Wu Yangqing's face was completely terrified. The moment his words left his mouth, he swept a vigilant glance at Wu Yangba and in a flash, he tried to flee. However, how could he possibly be able to flee under Wu Yangba's nose? Very easily, Wu Yangba blocked Wu Yangqing. "I've already made my mind up regarding this. You don't have to be so pessimistic about this anyway. That senior of our Wu Yang clan who came out of the Nether Ridge several 10,000 years ago was a lineal disciple from our Yang clan just like you too. Hence, you actually still stand a high chance. After all, the Nether Ridge is said to be closely related to our first clan leader. Perhaps, he'll take care of a lineal disciple like you more," Wu Yangba added. "Besides, if you manage to come out alive within a given time, you'll be able to surpass the Moon Illumination sect and even the 9 sect alliances, let alone Duan Ling Tian." When that senior of our Wu Yang clan that time was at his prime stage, even a 6-rated Forces Saint stage powerhouse was no match for him at all. If it were not for the fact that he offended a powerful person from a 5th-rated force, he wouldn't have died just like that. On top of that, our Wu Yang clan wouldn't have reached such a stage of being finished for good. Wu Yangba was filled with excitement and emotions at first, but when he reached the end of his sentence, he could not help but sigh out loud. "Chinger, I really think that you stand a great chance to become the second lineal disciple of our Wu Yang clan who can walk out of the Nether Ridge," Wu Yangba told Wu Yangqing. "Father, don't think that I don't know that most of the Wu Yang clan disciples who've entered the Nether Ridge were all lineal disciples, but look what happened to them. Not even 3 months after they've entered, their soul pearls already completely shattered," Wu Yangqing responded with an aghast look. His body continued to struggle, trying to break free from Wu Yangba's restraints. In the end, Wu Yangba could only hit him so that he would pass out. "Don't blame me, please, Chinger. It's all because the trouble that you've caused this time is just too huge. Not only will I not believe the words that you said in the 9 sect alliances headquarters, but even those elders from the clan won't believe it at all. I must give them some explanation about this." When Wu Yangba muttered till the end, he lamented. Even though he could just let Wu Yangqing go free, he had no doubt that the moment he left, the clan elders would definitely join forces and dismiss him from his position. There was a rule in the Yang clan that stated that if the clan leader had made a grave mistake, his bloodline would be robbed of the special privileges of having the priority to be his successor. There were many powerful elders who were also lineal disciples just like him in the Yang clan who were not from the same bloodline and were waiting for him to make a mistake. That way, they would be able to dismiss him from his position and let their own bloodlines to have the priority to succeed the clan leader's position. In order to protect these special privileges of his bloodline, Yang Ba had to harden his heart and make such a decision. Such a decision would render those elders speechless and give his son, Yang Qing, hope. Although the hope was very tiny, to the point that he also felt that Yang Qing would most likely be unable to survive, it was at least better than dying right away in the 9 Sect Alliance's headquarters. The Nether Ridge, the moment Yang Ba recalled the dangerous ground that their Yang clan had left behind since the beginning of time, his heart could not help but tremble for a moment. It was rumored that the Nether Ridge was related to the ancestors of their Yang clan. All along, there was a legend passed on in the Yang clan which stated that whichever Yang clan disciple who could walk out of the Nether Ridge would definitely become a top-rated powerhouse. At first, due to the reason that no Yang clan disciple had made it out alive from that place before, people no longer believed that legend anymore. It was only until 10,000 years ago when an Yang clan lineal disciple walked out of that place and delivered extraordinary powerful strength that he managed to prove that the legend was not just a groundless rumor. Chapter 1502, Duan Ling Tian only had 2 intentions of being at Han River City. Firstly, he wanted to buy an inscription pen. Second, to find the materials he needed to repair the 7 Treasures exquisite pagoda. He had already purchased an inscription pen, so all he needed to do now was to look for the materials needed to repair the 7 Treasures exquisite pagoda. When he just arrived at Han River City, he was all alone, but now that he had come to the 9 Sect Alliances headquarters and more specifically, to the Moon Illumination Sect's operation point, he managed to receive help from Dong Wei. With the help of Dong Wei, he managed to get his hands on many materials that were needed to fix the 7 Treasures exquisite pagoda. Of course, there were not many high-grade materials among them. The Yang clan, on the other hand, brought him an unexpected surprise. With Elder Huo's reminder, the materials to repair the 7 Treasures exquisite pagoda that he had obtained from the Yang clan were even more and better than what he obtained from Han River City. Thank you, clan leader Yang. Before Duan Ling Tian left the Yang clan, he smiled and thanked Yang Ba. Although Yang Ba's heart was bleeding and he hated Duan Ling Tian to his core, he did not reveal this at all. He did not dare show it at all too. All he could do was reply, as long as you don't dislike them. I don't dislike them. Of course, I won't dislike them. Duan Ling Tian shook his head. If I have another chance next time, I'll come to the Yang clan to pay a visit to you again, clan leader Yang. Duan Ling Tian's words gave Yang a fright of his life. Again, in just this one time alone, the group of Yang clan's elders had already formed an impressionable opinion of him. If he came again, those old men would most likely rip his skin off his bones straight away. However, the moment he recalled how he had already sent his troublemaking son away, Yang Ba breathed a sigh of relief again. Clan leader Yang, I'll take my leave first. When Duan Ling Tian saw Yang's forced smile on his face, he was swept by a wave of joy right away. After bidding goodbye nonchalantly, he proceeded to leave the Yang clan with Dong Wei. Yang Ba, the Yang clan leader, also sent the 2 of them off at the great entrance personally. Yang Ji, the steward of the Yang clan, and Yang Ruo, the second young miss of the Yang clan, had also accompanied him to send Duan Ling Tian and Dong Wei off. He's actually Duan Ling Tian, how could he be Duan Ling Tian? Even after a few days had gone by, Yang Ruo still did not believe that the person who had rescued her at the Juku mountain range that time would turn out to be Duan Ling Tian, the Moon Illumination Sect disciple whose name had spread throughout the 9 Sect Alliances district these few months. However, the moment she recalled how his brother had been sent to the Nether Ridge due to Duan Ling Tian's sake, Yang Ruo's face turned frigid right away. Her eyes were filled with icy hatred. Duan Ling Tian, it's all because of you. If it wasn't for you, my brother would have never been sent to the Nether Ridge at all. All of the people who entered the Nether Ridge only had a narrow chance to escape it. Yang Ruo also felt that Yang Qing would not be able to walk out of that place alive. She really itched to take revenge for her brother, but the moment she recalled Duan Ling Tian's innate talent, strength, and background, a wave of helplessness washed over her heart. She could not think of taking revenge at all and she could only bury the hatred deep in her heart. After leaving the Yang clan on the way home, Dong Wei heard Duan Lingtian mention that he would go back to the Moon Illumination sect in a few days, and right away, he persuaded him to stay. Junior brother Duan, since you don't come to Han River City often, why don't you stay here a little longer? It's just for a few days. I haven't gotten the chance to perform the duty of hosting as a senior brother. If senior brother Bai Li Hong finds out that I didn't treat you well, he'll definitely be unhappy, Dong Wei told Duan Lingtian. Senior brother Duan, it's not like I'm going to leave immediately. Besides, I still have some things that I really need to do after going back to the sect these few days. I really can't stay for too long here in Han River City. Duan Lingtian smiled. When your shift is already over and you're finally back in the sect, let's have a fun gathering together. Since you're so persistent about this, I won't be persuading you anymore then, junior brother. However, you must let me take care of your schedule for the next few days. Let me perform my duty as your host in these few days, Dong Wei replied. Sure, I'll just go along with you, senior brother Wei, Duan Lingtian agreed to it right away. He was also grateful to Dong Wei these few days. Otherwise, he would have never been able to obtain so many materials. When they had just returned to the Moon Illumination sect's operation point in the 9 Sect Alliance's headquarters, Duan Lingtian already heard Dong Wei calling for him before he even got enough rest. Senior brother Wei, what's up with finding me so anxiously? He had just split ways with Dong Wei, but it had never crossed his mind that Dong Wei would come to find him this fast the moment they separated. Junior brother Duan, I originally shouldn't disturb your rest, but according to the law of the 9 Sect Alliances, Earth rankings, I have no other choice. Dong Wei smiled wryly. Earth rankings? Could somebody be here to challenge me? Duan Lingtian lifted his brows and asked. He could not think of any other plausible reason other than this. That's right, Dong Wei confirmed. I've also heard that this man has been here since early morning, but it just so happened that we went out to the Yang clan just now. Now that the man has heard that you're back, he's already been waiting outside our Moon Illumination sect's operation point. Right now, many people from the other 8 great sects are waiting for you to accept their challenges too. I think they more or less want to have a taste of battling you. Plus, the talented, handsome, young man is well known in the 9 Sect Alliances district, Dong Wei added. Since he's already here, I'll go meet him then. Duan Lingtian agreed before leaving the Moon Illumination sect's operation point with Dong Wei and went outside. When they reached outside of the Moon Illumination sect's operation point, Duan Lingtian was taken aback by surprise when they saw the crowds of dark mass in the surroundings. Outside the Moon Illumination sect's operation point, the crowds of dark mass made a shape of the moon as they surrounded an empty space. In this empty space stood an ordinary middle-aged man whose face was covered in stubbles, looking extremely unkempt. However, his eyes were brimming with radiating vigor, giving off an invincible spirit. Duan Lingtian was very clear that this person was the one who wanted to challenge him. However, he did not take this person to heart. Even if he had yet to make a breakthrough, he would not fear any challenge from any mortal shedding stage martial or Dao cultivator at all, especially since he had made a breakthrough to the intermediate Saint Rudiment stage now. It's Elder Wei from the Moon Illumination sect. Just as Duan Lingtian and Dong Wei came out together, many people recognized Dong Wei right away. The one coming out with Dong Wei must be Duan Lingtian, isn't it? That's right, it's him. When I was on duty a few days ago, I personally witnessed him coming to our 9 Sect Alliance's headquarters. I thought that he would purposely dodge the challenge from this Earth Rankings powerhouse, but it has never crossed my mind that he would accept it straight away. Looks like he's pretty confident about his own strength. When the other 8 great sects buried their heads in discussions, their attention shifted towards Duan Lingtian. All of these people were inner court disciples from each great sect. All of them were on at least the Saint Rudiment stage. If it were just an ordinary person seeing so many powerhouses on the Saint Rudiment stage and above studying him right now, he would become more or less anxious. However, despite facing the attention of these people, Duan Lingtian's face remained calm, and from the beginning, he appeared to be unruffled by this at all. He was calm and without worldly passion like a monk. When Lu Hai heard the other 8 great sects, he snorted coldly and remarked disdainfully, HMPH. He's only a person ranked 71th on the Earth rankings. Our junior brother Duan could even defeat someone ranked 66th on the Earth rankings, so how could he possibly fear someone who's ranked lower? That's right, our junior brother Duan's strength has been proven and is definitely not a groundless rumor. Many inner court disciples of the Moon Illumination sect agreed one after another. Pissed. When many of the other 8 great sect members heard the group of inner court disciples from the Moon Illumination sect, they could not help but burst out laughing. The problem is, the person that he defeated was He Zhang, who was ranked 66th on the Earth rankings, who's also your Moon Illumination sect disciple. That's right. Who knows whether Zhang He has been coerced by the high-ranking official of your Moon Illumination sect and had no choice but to lose to Duan Lingtian deliberately. Even though the other 8 great sects did not point out who the person was exactly, the group of inner court disciples from the Moon Illumination sect knew that the high-ranking official that they were talking about was none other than Elder Bai Li Hong, who had taken Duan Lingtian as a junior brother. All of you are spouting rubbish. Lu Hai scolded with a crimson face. Many of the inner court disciples from the Moon Illumination sect started to curse as well. However, there was also a group of Moon Illumination sect inner court disciples who started to have doubts in their eyes after hearing what the 8 great sect disciples said as they stared at Duan Lingtian, who was walking slowly out of the Moon Illumination sect's operation point. It was apparent that doubt had started to rouse in their hearts. Of course, Duan Lingtian did not miss the discussions and the suspicious gazes coming from his surroundings. He had already noticed them. However, he was not bothered by them at all because he knew that he would make the 8 great sect disciples shut up very soon. In just a while, he would be able to erase the doubts in their eyes. The middle-aged man, whose face was covered with stubbles and appeared to be particularly unkempt, stared at Duan Lingtian and asked in an almost questioning tone, "Are you that Duan Lingtian who defeated He Zhang and replaced him as 66th on the Earth rankings?" However, Duan Lingtian merely cast an indifferent glance at him. "So what if I am? If you are, I'm gonna defeat and replace you today." A bright brilliance flashed across the middle-aged man's eyes. Arrogantly, he said, full of confidence, "Remember that the name of the man who defeated you is called." "Idiot," Duan Lingtian spat out, interrupting the middle-aged man. He was not fond of this guy who talked down to him at all. "Just make your move quickly if you want to challenge me. Why do you need to talk so much for?" Ha 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 ha. When Duan Lingtian cut off the middle-aged man's words, the crowd who heard it burst out laughing right away. This was because the word that Duan Lingtian spat out just so happened to be able to connect the unfinished sentence that the middle-aged man uttered. Duan Lingtian is really as proud as Lucifer. With just one word, he enraged the other party immediately. Many disciples from the 8 great sects shook their heads, thinking that Duan Lingtian was too rash. He has now taken the upper hand thanks to his sharp tongue, but he'll definitely suffer later. They chuckled and took pleasure in his misfortune. Noticing the furious middle-aged man open his mouth to try to say something, Duan Lingtian beat him to it and offered nonchalantly, "If you still want to introduce yourself, you can just skip that part already. I have no interest in knowing a loser's name." Chapter 1503. I have no interest in knowing a loser's name. The sentence that Duan Lingtian uttered as he beat the middle-aged man to it made the middle-aged man's face swell with anger as he was completely infuriated. Even the crowd watching by the side burst into clamor as well. Insane. He was crazy. This was the first thought that appeared in the crowd's mind, including many Moon Illumination sect inner court disciples as well. All of them felt that what Duan Lingtian said was too absurd. After all, the winner and the loser had not been decided yet. Good. Very good. Excellent. Taking a deep breath, the middle-aged man temporarily suppressed his flame of rage that threatened to burst out. Glaring at Duan Lingtian, he snarled, "I'll let everyone present, see how you're gonna slap your own mouth with your own words." "Well, I welcome you to give me a slap if you have the ability to do that." Duan Lingtian smirked indifferently, appearing casual and elegant. This scene also caused the onlooking crowd to gaze at each other. Could Duan Lingtian actually have the confidence to win against this middle-aged man? "You're looking for death." Without a doubt, this remark that Duan Lingtian made was the ultimate blasting fuse, fully igniting the middle-aged man's flame of rage. At once, the middle-aged man roared angrily and pounced towards Duan Lingtian like a maniac. His speed was so fast that he seemed to have transformed into a gust of wind. As expected from a well-known powerhouse from the Earth rankings, this speed already surpasses most of the early Saint Rudiment stage martial and Dao cultivators. Most of the people looking on by the side were the inner court disciples from the 9 great sects, so all of them could tell that the speed that the middle-aged man demonstrated was out of this world. At the same time, they looked at Duan Lingtian too. The next scene took them by great bafflement. Duan Lingtian's voice resonated in the air. At the same time, he dodged the middle-aged man a few times easily. On top of that, he appeared beside him immediately and remarked casually, "Is this the fastest you can go?" From his tone, it was obvious that the speed that he was displaying was not his full potential. After all, if he had already exerted his full strength, he would not have been able to talk so coolly as though he was chatting idly even if he could still talk. On the other hand, Dong Wei, who had come with Duan Lingtian and was now standing by the side watching the battle, was also stunned by the speed that he exhibited. This speed, I'm afraid it's already on par with an intermediate Saint Rudiment stage martial cultivator, isn't it? Dong Wei gasped secretly and muttered to himself, with the speed that junior brother Duan is displaying right now, there's no way that he's only a mortal shedding stage martial cultivator. From what I can see, he has already made a breakthrough to the Saint Rudiment stage. What horrifying acceleration! No wonder senior brother Bai Li Hong took him as a junior brother. Right now, Dong Wei thought that the reason Bai Li Hong had taken Duan Lingtian as his junior brother was only because he had taken a fancy to Duan Lingtian's martial Dao innate ability. It had never crossed his mind that it was not because of his martial Dao innate talent, but because he was able to get the strange inscription art that was left behind by the teacher that he had never met before. A majority of the onlooking crowd shared the same thought as Dong Wei. The speed that Duan Lingtian is displaying has completely surpassed his. Don't tell me that Duan Lingtian has already made a breakthrough to the Saint Rudiment stage. It's possible. In that case, is the rumor stating that Duan Lingtian made it into the Earth rankings with just a cultivation base of perfection mortal shedding stage also fake then? It must be fake, When the disciples from the 8 great sects buried their heads in discussion, many of them had even outrageously cast their spiritual secret tactic to probe Duan Lingtian's cultivation base. However, all of their actions turned out to be in vain. Therefore, it made them certain of one thing, that Duan Lingtian was indeed a Saint Rudiment stage martial cultivator. With their strength, the spiritual secret tactic that they cast could probe any martial or Dao cultivator whose cultivation base was below the Saint Rudiment stage. However, their spiritual secret tactic was not able to probe any powerhouses who were on the Saint Rudiment stage, the same level as them, or the Saint stage and above. Saint Rudiment stage martial cultivator. Is Duan Lingtian a Saint Rudiment stage martial cultivator? When Lu Yu and Lu Hai heard that Duan Lingtian was actually a Saint Rudiment stage martial cultivator, they were dumbfounded right away. Standing right there and gazing at each other, disbelief filled their faces at once. The other inner court disciples from the Moon Illumination sect were also dumbfounded. As for the Moon Illumination sect disciples, Duan Lingtian was naturally quite familiar to them. Not only that, but they were also certain that he was indeed merely a perfection mortal shedding stage martial cultivator when his name had just started to spread out. This was because Duan Lingtian's cultivation base had been probed before by the group of Moon Illumination sect inner court disciples with their spiritual secret tactic. They had been certain that Duan Lingtian was indeed a perfection mortal shedding stage martial cultivator. It was still possible if 1 or 2 of them made a mistake during the probing, but it was impossible for so many people to have erred. It was precisely because of this that their hearts were filled with astonishment and disbelief. Did Duan Lingtian make a breakthrough to the Saint Rudiment stage from the perfection mortal shedding stage in just a few months? Just as the onlookers were puzzled about this, Duan Lingtian had already lost interest in toying with this middle-aged man. With a raise of his hand, he flung out a slap and shot vast true energy out before pressing on the middle-aged man and sent him flying away with a blast. The man crashed onto the ground with severe injuries, but he still remained conscious. He no longer looked at Duan Lingtian with a lofty and arrogant gaze. Instead, only fear could be seen on his face. Why, you've made a breakthrough to the Saint Rudiment stage? In his opinion, even the strongest person on the Earth rankings would not have been able to defeat him completely in this way. There was only one possibility for this man in front to be able to beat him in such a way. That was, he had already made a breakthrough to the Saint Rudiment stage. A person who was able to be listed on the Earth rankings during the mortal shedding stage would have a strength that was on par with even an intermediate Saint Rudiment stage martial or Dao cultivator when he made a breakthrough to the early Saint Rudiment stage. After one earned a place on the Earth rankings made a breakthrough to the Earth Saint Rudiment stage, he would even be able to defeat an ordinary intermediate Saint Rudiment stage cultivator. You're pretty smart. After casting an indifferent glance at the middle-aged man, Duan Lingtian turned around and left without looking back, leaving an elegant and unrestrained silhouette to the middle-aged man and the crowd. Saint Rudiment stage. Duan Lingtian from the Moon Illumination sect was actually a Saint Rudiment stage martial cultivator. At once, many of them on the scene started to return to their senses with shock written all over their faces. At the same time, this piece of news had also spread out like a typhoon. In just the span of a night, it had already spread out to every nook and cranny of Han River City. Whoever was not in closed-door cultivation in Han River City knew about this news. The Ouyang clan was no exception either. Has he actually made a breakthrough to the Saint Rudiment stage already? Ouyang Ruo was astonished. She still remembered that the true energy that Duan Lingtian displayed when he saved her that time was still not on the Saint Rudiment stage level yet. It was precisely because of this that she was certain that Duan Lingtian was still not a Saint Rudiment stage martial cultivator yet before this. Yet, right now, Ouyang Ruo, who originally had no intention of taking revenge against Duan Lingtian, could only feel an even greater sense of helplessness now. Monster! What a monster! Our Ouyang clan must never go against him. After knowing that Duan Lingtian had already made a breakthrough to the Saint Rudiment stage, Ouyang Ba also turned pale out of fear. At the same time, he secretly made up his mind to never go against Duan Lingtian. No matter how frenzied it was outside with the news of him entering the Saint Rudiment stage, Duan Lingtian was not at all bothered by it. Instead, he stayed casually at the Moon Illumination Sect's operation point in the 9 Sect Alliances headquarters, and when he was free, he would have an idle chat with Dong Wei and discuss the Martial Dao and Saint Inscription Dao. Dong Wei, who was originally prepared to bring Duan Lingtian out for a stroll these few days, instantly dismissed this idea when he realized his attainment in the Saint Inscription Dao. He realized that when Duan Lingtian was discussing the Saint Inscription Dao with him, every sentence that came out of his mouth would be very meaningful and would give him great inspiration. In the end, he also realized that the reason Bai Li Hong had taken Duan Lingtian as his junior brother was not because of his martial Dao innate talent, but because of his innate talent in the Saint Inscription Dao. When they were discussing a problem, Dong Wei frowned and asked when he heard Duan Lingtian's answer to solve it, "Junior brother Duan, this doesn't seem to be an orthodox Saint Inscription art, does it?" "Senior brother Wei, I've heard from senior brother Bai Li Hong that you've also come into contact with the strange inscription art before too, haven't you?" "What, didn't you realize that the things that I said just now have some strange inscription art's shadow in it?" Duan Lingtian grinned. Strange inscription art. However, when Dong Wei heard Duan Lingtian, he was absolutely dumbfounded. He stared at Duan Lingtian as though he was looking at a ghost. Junior brother Duan, don't tell me that you've already mastered the strange inscription art already." "Well, I haven't reached the stage of mastering it yet. It's only at the fundamental awareness stage," Duan Lingtian replied humbly. However, his humble words were already enough to send Dong Wei into so much shock that he was rendered speechless for a long time. After some time, he finally sighed emotionally. "Looks like senior brother Bai Li Hong has finally come across the person that he has always been waiting for, and to think that I used to think that the reason senior brother Bai Li Hong took you as a junior brother was because of your martial Dao innate talent. It looks like I've been greatly mistaken from the very beginning." Right now, Dong Wei was very certain now that Bai Li Hong took Duan Lingtian as his junior brother not because of his martial Dao innate talent, but because he could master the strange inscription art. Bai Li Hong had shared the strange inscription art with him before, but just like Bai Li Hong, he was unable to cultivate it due to his spiritual energy. Duan Lingtian merely smiled indifferently and did not say anything more. "Senior brother Wei, all the materials that I want will arrive in 2 days, won't they?" Duan Lingtian looked at Dong Wei and changed the topic. The reason for extending his stay at Han River City for a few more days was mostly because a great pile of the materials that he wanted was now on the way to Han River City. Those were the materials that Bai Li Hong had asked his men to gather. Duan Lingtian also wanted them urgently as they could be used to repair the 7 Treasures Exquisite Pagoda. "Yeah, they'll arrive in 2 days, at the most." Dong Wei nodded. He did not dare to slack on matters regarding Duan Lingtian. 2 days later, the materials finally arrived. According to Elder Huo, the 4th level of the 7 Treasures Exquisite Pagoda must be able to be repaired up to 10% with all of the materials that I've gathered from Han River City. Despite having so many materials, only 10% of it can be repaired. Looks like the repairing of the 4th level is much more difficult than the 3rd level, Duan Lingtian sighed in his heart. However, he also knew that no matter how hard it was, he still had to continue to gather these materials. Chapter 1504. Since Duan Lingtian had received the materials, he had no plan to remain in Han River City any longer. Senior brother Wei, I'll count on you to get the materials that I need then, added Duan Lingtian when bade farewell to Dong Wei. Don't worry, junior brother Duan. I'll continue to send my men to search for those materials that you need. When I've already gotten them, I'll ask them to bring back to the sect to you, Dong Wei said, nodding. Thank you, senior brother Wei. After expressing his gratitude again, Duan Lingtian finally left. When he left, it was already late at night. It was so dark that he could barely see his hands in front of him. Seizing the chance since it was so dark, Duan Lingtian left the Moon Illumination Sect's operation point quietly and left the 9 Sect Alliance's headquarters. The reason he chose to leave at this hour was to avoid all unnecessary trouble. Duan Lingtian knew very well that even though he was already an intermediate Saint Rudiment stage martial cultivator now, he would still stand no chance resisting if he came across a paramount Saint Rudiment stage powerhouse. What Duan Lingtian did not know was that when he left, a figure was stalking him close behind and only came to a halt when the figure watched him leaving Han River City successfully. He raised his head and watched Duan Lingtian's silhouette fading into the air and vanished in this moonlight. The moonlight shone down, revealing the man's face. He was none other than Dong Wei, who had just said farewell to Duan Lingtian not long ago. It turned out that after Duan Lingtian had left, Dong Wei had pondered about it and still felt worried. Hence, he secretly escorted Duan Lingtian out of the city. Only after he had witnessed him leaving Han River City until his figure vanished before his eyes, he finally stopped following him. Duan Lingtian exerted his full speed and traveled at the speed of light as he flew towards where the Moon Illumination Sect estate was. Huang Cheng. On the way back to the Moon Illumination Sect, Duan Lingtian could not help but remember that outer court elder who had made his move to kill him when he had first left the Moon Illumination Sect. Had it not been for the fact that he had had 2 3-star Divine Strider talismans with him, he would have been dead by Huang Cheng's hand. I hope your balls are big enough to remain in the Moon Illumination Sect so that I can have a chance to take my revenge. Duan Lingtian muttered to himself. It was obvious that these words were targeted towards Huang Cheng. Unfortunately, he was destined to be disappointed. When Huang Cheng did not manage to kill him, he already realized that he would not have a happy ending if he went back to the Moon Illumination Sect, so he went into hiding instead. Of course, the reason Huang Cheng went into hiding was not that he feared Duan Lingtian. Instead, he was scared of Bai Li Hong, who was backing Duan Lingtian. When Duan Lingtian returned to the Moon Illumination Sect, many people come and left a secluded mansion in Han River City. Under the cover of the moonlight, these people walked back and forth in and out of the mansion. In the daytime, this mansion was devoid of activity. One could only see people leaving and entering when it was night time. Here was the operation point that the Mountainshade Black Market had set up in Han River City in the 9 Sect Alliances district. Tonight, inside a spacious room in this bustling mansion, candlelight swayed in the faint breeze and flickered ceaselessly, reflecting 2 figures. One of the figures was a skinny, old man who had a mixture of black and white hair. His face seemed to be asymmetrically divided into 2 halves, half of it looked like male while another looked feminine. Right now, he was looking at the sturdy middle-aged man in front of him as he said, Duan Lingtian from the Moon Illumination Sect is exactly Kai Ming's target. There's only one explanation how he could have come to Han River City alive and even created such a huge commotion: Kai Ming must have failed. Could there be some other reason? It's pretty impossible for Kai Ming to fail. Standing right there, the sturdy middle-aged man who had a stocky and imposing build was like an iron tower who oozed a powerful sense of intimidation towards the other man. Even if there's some other reason, Kai Ming should have come back by now. Seeing that he still hasn't made it back, he must have met a grim ending, the old man replied. Knock, knock. Right at this moment, 2 faint knocks reverberated. Just as the old man and the middle-aged man shifted their gazes towards the door, a polite voice resonated from the outside. Lord Yin Yang. As though he could hear who the voice belonged to, the old man answered nonchalantly, come in. At the same time, he waved his hand and the room door opened by itself. A young man who was covered in black clothing gradually walked in. When he saw the strong-built man, he politely bowed and paid his respects. Lord Tai Wu. The old man raised his hand again to close the room door before he asked indifferently, anything? Lord Yin Yang, there's a quasi-3-star assassin who's looking for you. He said that he must talk to you personally, the young man replied. If you refuse to see him, I'll send him away, Lord Yin Yang. A quasi-3-star assassin. A brilliance flashed across the old man's cloudy eyes. After remaining silent for some time, he finally said, "Bring him over." In the Mountainshade Black Market, the assassins were ranked by various grades too. That black-robed man, whom Duan Lingtian killed the last time, was a 3-star assassin in the Mountainshade Black Market. Although a quasi-3-star assassin was not as powerful as him, there was not much difference between them. In the Mountainshade Black Market, a quasi-3-star assassin would usually be able to assassinate an ordinary paramount mortal shedding stage marshal or Dao cultivator if there were no mishaps. One could easily imagine just how terrorizing a quasi-3-star assassin was. Soon, the young man brought a man who was completely enveloped in a black robe in with him. Nobody could see his face or body at all. "Good day to you, Lord Yin Yang." The black-robed man bowed slightly towards the old man, but he did not seem to recognize the middle-aged man beside him, so he did not bow towards him at all. However, the middle-aged man did not seem to be concerned about it. Still, he studied the black-robed man with interest. The old man, who was a high-ranking official in the Mountainshade Black Market with the code name, Yin Yang, asked nonchalantly, "Why are you looking for me?" Of course, he was only a high-ranking official in the Mountainshade Black Market branch in the 9-Sect Alliances district. If he were in the Mountainshade Black Market headquarters, he would be merely a handyman with his strength of early Saint Rudiment stage and would not be worth mentioning at all. The black-robed man was the quasi-3-star assassin who wanted to look for Yin Yang. After he cast a glance at the young man beside him, he glanced at the middle-aged man. "You can leave first." Upon hearing Yin Yang's order, the young man retreated and closed the door when he left. Looking at the quasi-3-star assassin, Yin Yang said, "That's Tai Wu." Tai Wu. However, when Yin Yang's words left his mouth, the quasi-3-star assassin could not help but tremble a little. When he opened his mouth once again, even his voice was slightly shaking. Is it Lord T. Tai Wu?" Then, he lifted his head slightly and glanced at the muscular, middle-aged man. When he saw the horrendous sword scar that slashed across his left eye, he took a deep breath and hastily bowed. "Good day to you, Lord Tai Wu." As a Mountainshade Black Market assassin, the official of the highest level that he had ever come across was Yin Yang. Although he had heard of Tai Wu many times before, he had never seen him before. Therefore, even when Tai Wu was standing in front of him today, he did not recognize him at all. The moment he recalled the rumor regarding Tai Wu, his heart could not help but tremble a little again. There was a shocking rumor that was being spread out among the Mountainshade Black Market assassins, stating that the former clan leader of the Profound Talisman sect had died by Tai Wu's hand. When the former clan leader of the Profound Talisman sect died, his strength could be deemed to be the top 3 in the entire 9-Sect Alliances district. He was so powerful that he even surpassed Yin Yang, one of the high-ranking officials of their Mountainshade Black Market. He had also heard of Tai Wu's origin before. It seemed like Tai Wu had offended a high-ranking official in the Mountainshade Black Market's upper division, and for this reason, he was suppressed by that official and was expelled to the branch of the Mountainshade Black Market in the 9-Sect Alliances district. That particular branch was ranked one of the lowest in the entire Mountainshade Black Market. There was also another rumor regarding Tai Wu when he had just arrived at the Mountainshade Black Market's branch in the 9-Sect Alliances district. It was said that when he had just arrived, he was also not welcomed by the high-ranking officials at the branch. Cornered in such a situation, he did not say anything, and with just his pair of iron fists alone, he sealed a place for himself in the Mountainshade Black Market's branch in the 9-Sect Alliances district. Right now, his position at the branch was even higher than Yin Yang's. Therefore, when the black-robed quasi-3-star assassin heard that the strong-built man standing in front was Tai Wu, he was instantly taken aback. "Just spit it out if you have anything to say." Tai Wu nodded his head at the black-robed man and said nonchalantly. "Yes," quickly replied the black-robed man. Not daring to slack at all, he looked at Tai Wu and Yin Yang to report, "Lord Tai Wu, Lord Yin Yang, a few days ago at midnight, I just so happened to witness an incident that has an adverse impact on our Mountainshade Black Market." When the black-robed man reached the end of his sentence, his face turned grave right away. Oh, when Tai Wu and Yin Yang heard him, they exchanged glances with each other and saw the astonishment in each other's eyes. "That night, because I had a mission to carry out, I left in a hurry after I ascertained the identity of the two men. By the time my mission was done, I hurried back and instantly came to find you, Lord Yin Yang," the black-robed man told Yin Yang. "What incident?" Yin Yang asked. "Somebody actually impersonated as our Mountainshade Black Market men." The black-robed man gnashed his teeth. They claimed that they were assassins from our Mountainshade black market, but from the aura that they exuded, I could see that they were definitely not assassins. Besides, our Mountainshade black market assassins are shackled by the thunder penalty of the 9 heavenly tribulation oath, so it's impossible for us to expose our own identity. Swish, swish. The black-robed man's words instantly caused Tai Wu and Yin Yang's face to turn dark right away in unison. The headquarters that was at the highest level in their Mountainshade black market was a third-rated force. As the saying went, rules and regulations must be adhered to in handling affairs. If such a huge force did not have such rules, it would have been impossible for them to achieve glory. There were also many prohibitions in the Mountainshade black market. One of them was that none of the Mountainshade black market assassins could reveal their identity when they were on duty outside. For this reason, the Mountainshade black market had set a rule stating that every killer of the Mountainshade black market must swear using the 9 heavenly tribulation oath before they entered. Chapter 1505. It was exactly because of this reason that the Mountainshade black market assassins could never reveal their identity no matter what. If the assassins revealed their identities, this would be a big taboo and they would even be killed by the thunder penalty of the 9 heavenly tribulation oath. If someone impersonated the Mountainshade black market, he would not be forgiven too. There was an explicit rule clearly stipulated in writing that whichever sect or person dared to impersonate a Mountainshade black market member, they would definitely be annihilated by the Mountainshade black market. In order to protect this baseline, the Mountainshade black market had even come up with a rule that all Mountainshade black market members who had reached the saint stage must swear using the 9 heavenly tribulation oath that they would go all out to annihilate whoever impersonated as their fellow members. Those who refused to follow this rule would be blasted to death by the thunder penalty. Even Tai Wu and Yin Yang were of no exception as well, both of them had already made this oath. It was still alright if they did not know anything, but once they found out, the 9 heavenly tribulation oath would start to run its course. How are you going to prove that what you've said is true? Yin Yang looked at the quasi-3-star assassin in front of him and asked in a deep voice, do you dare to make a 9 heavenly tribulation oath and prove that every word you spoke just now was nothing but the truth? If there was any false statement in it, you'd be blasted to death by the thunder penalty. Upon hearing this, the quasi-3-star assassin instantly completed the 9 heavenly tribulation oath without saying anything. Boom, 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 9 thunderous sounds reverberated and took half of Han River City by surprise. Those who heard the thunderous booms knew that somebody must have already made the 9 heavenly tribulation oath and the thunder had corresponded to him. Seeing how this quasi-3-star assassin had made his 9 heavenly tribulation oath so straightforwardly and was not punished by the thunder penalty, Tai Wu and Yin Yang realized that the man was not lying. The reason they wanted to affirm this was because they were also worried that the quasi-3-star assassin just want to find an excuse to kill a person. In the 9 sect alliances district, their hands were no doubt the sharpest blade that existed. Looking at the quasi-3-star assassin, Tai Wu asked, just now, you said that you've confirmed the identity of the people who impersonated as our Mountainshade black market's members, haven't you? Yes. The quasi-3-star assassin nodded. Who are they? Yin Yang asked. They're from the Ouyang clan of Han River City. The Ouyang clan is an 8-rated force from Han River City. They usually rely on the 9 sect alliances to do their business and have accumulated quite a lot of wealth, answered the quasi-3-star assassin. The Ouyang clan. Upon hearing his words, Tai Wu and Yin Yang exchanged glances with each other, both noticing the cold brilliance in each other's eyes. That night, the Ouyang clan had received an unprecedented catastrophe that they had never faced before. The entire Ouyang clan, including Ouyang Ba the clan leader, had all been slaughtered, except for a minority of them who were not in that night. Before the group of high-ranking officials of the Ouyang clan could realize what was happening, they had all already been killed one by one. Even the few old Ouyang clan elders who were at the Paramount Saint Rudiment stage were also dragged out from the Ouyang clan's secret room by the intruders before they were slaughtered. Up to that moment when they were slaughtered, the old Ouyang clan elders did not understand why would Saint stage powerhouses be coming to kill them, to the point that they did not even say half a sentence to them at all. That night, the Ouyang clan's blood flowed like a river. Just as the Ouyang clan shed blood like water, the 2 Saint stage powerhouses who made their move rapidly also left ostentatiously. When they left, a group of black-robed men rushed in and ransacked the entire Ouyang clan. By the time the people from the 9 sect alliances headquarters came, almost everything that was worthy in the Ouyang clan had already been looted, leaving only bodies strewn everywhere on the ground and streams of blood that looked like a river. The Yang clan that was once glorious and magnificent had completely become history in just a night. All of the people in charge of the 9 great sects gathered together in the 9 sect alliances headquarters. Everyone, what do you think of the incident regarding the Yang clan? A huge burly man with a bristly beard asked in a boisterous voice. His glance swept past all of the 30 over people present at the scene. These people were all the people in charge sent by the 9 great sects to Han River City. Each of them worked together to manage the affairs in the 9 sect alliances headquarters. They came from 9 great sects. The few people from the Moon Illumination sect, including Dong Wei, were also present. Why would the Yang clan suddenly be annihilated entirely? Don't tell me that senior brother Bai Li Hong was the one who made the move. Wait a minute, even if senior brother Bai Li Hong made his move, he couldn't possibly have wiped the entire Yang clan out overnight. All of the few Paramount Saint Rudiment stage powerhouses in the Yang clan have actually died. None of them managed to escape at all. At first, Dong Wei thought that Bai Li Hong had taken revenge for Duan Lingtian's sake, but very soon, he realized that this was not possible. Oh, suddenly, Dong Wei noticed many of them shifting their gaze towards their Moon Illumination sect members. Do we still have to think? It must be the Moon Illumination sect who did that, tisk tisk. The Moon Illumination sect really loves Duan Lingtian so much to the point that when they found out that he was already bullied by the Yang clan, they immediately wiped out the entire Yang clan. An ugly middle-aged man exclaimed sarcastically. Just one night and the entire Yang clan was wiped out. Even those few Paramount Saint Rudiment stage powerhouses couldn't make it out either, a Saint stage powerhouse must have been involved too. Another person added. An old man glared at Dong Wei and a few others with fury and almost howled as he demanded, "What a great move, Moon Illumination sect. How could you actually wipe out an 8-rated clan who is also an alliance of our 9 sect alliances just for the sake of one small conflict? Besides, it was a clan that we helped to support and raise together in the past. Moon Illumination sect, you owe us an explanation." That's right, no matter how bad the Yang clan is, it was still raised and brought up by us. Even if your Moon Illumination sect wanted to annihilate it, you should have at least told us first. Acting all by yourself without consulting us, what do you take the other 8 great sects as? Many people continued to interrogate. Now that you guys have slaughtered the Yang clan, who's going to clean up the mess that the Yang clan left behind then? Do you know how much effort we need to take to raise another 8-rated force? What your Moon Illumination sect has done this time is just too much. Right at this moment, Dong Wei and the few others had become the target of the 8 great sects. HMPH, what proof do you to accuse our Moon Illumination sect? A sturdy, old man beside Dong Wei snorted coldly with disdain and asked in a deep voice as he cast a glance at the crowd. This old man was the main person in charge sent by the Moon Illumination sect to the 9 sect alliances headquarters. He was Tan Quan, one of the few vice-sect leaders of the Moon Illumination sect. That's right, it's better not to point fingers before you have any evidence, Dong Wei also grunted. The few remaining people in charge of the Moon Illumination sect also agreed. Even though they were secretly skeptical about Elder Bai Li Hong managing to persuade the high-ranking officials in the sect to let the Saint stage powerhouses annihilate the Yang clan, they could not show their suspicions right now. What kind of proof do you still want to see? A strong, middle-aged man stood up and smirked. Other than your Moon Illumination sect, who else would have the motive to wipe out the entire Yang clan? That's right, we can be certain that it was a Saint stage powerhouse who wiped out the entire Yang clan in a night. Tell us then, other than our 9 great sects here, which other force has Saint stage powerhouses in the 9 sect alliances district? Somebody questioned again. Other than our 9 great sects, which other force has Saint stage powerhouse in the 9 sect alliances district? When Tan Quan heard this person's question, he smirked right away. You seem to have forgotten the Mountainshade Black Market, huh? The Mountainshade Black Market. The moment they heard Tan Quan mention the Mountainshade Black Market, the entire scene turned deadly silent. The atmosphere changed to become slightly weird. The Mountainshade Black Market had always been the thorn in the 9 sect alliances, throat all the while. It was also the force that made the 9 great sects stick together closely like birds of the same feather. If there were no Mountainshade Black Market, there would be no 9 sect alliances. One could even say that the alliances among the 9 great sects were created by the Mountainshade Black Market alone. The Mountainshade Black Market had given them an inexplicable sense of huge pressure. HMPH. Stop using the mountainshade black market to scare us. All this while, the mountainshade black market has only been making their move in the dark, and since when have they done anything like this before? Soon, one of the high-ranking officials of one of the sects returned to his senses and scoffed. Many other people agreed with his words. That's right, although the mountainshade black market is peculiar about what they do, this doesn't seem to be their style at all. The Ouyang clan has just defended Duan Ling Tian from your moon illumination sect a few days ago, and now it's already wiped out. Who would believe you if you say this has nothing to do with your moon illumination sect at all? So, it turns out that the moon illumination sect is actually a sect that doesn't dare to admit their doings, huh? Many people from the other 8 great sects started to mock Tan Quan, Dong Wei, and a few others. At once, the moon illumination sect did not have any comeback at all. After all, whatever the 8 great sect members uttered kind of made sense too. Perhaps, it was some simple-minded people from the Ouyang clan who offended the mountainshade black market. In the end, it was Dong Wei who first returned to his senses and tried to refute. Just as the group of high-ranking officials of the 8 grade sects wanted to answer, a young man hastily rushed in from outside. Such rude manners caused the crowd to frown right away. Which sect's disciple is this who doesn't know any manners at all? He's definitely not from our profound talisman sect. Not from our sect too. The high-ranking officials of the 8 great sects clarified their relationship to the man one after another. Soon, their gazes shifted towards the few high-ranking officials of the moon illumination sect in unison. If he was not from their sects, then he must be from the moon illumination sect. At this moment, be it Tan Quan, the vice sect leader of the moon illumination sect, or Dong Wei and the others, each of their faces appeared solemn. The moon illumination sect's disciple who barged in, on the other hand, seemed to not have realized that the atmosphere of the scene was heavy, and he still stormed in. As he was barging in, he kept saying, "Senior uncles, the reason the entire Ouyang clan being annihilated has already been spread out in Han River City." What? The moment the moon illumination sect disciple's words left his mouth, the entire scene broke into an uproar. At this moment, nobody was concerned about this moon illumination sect disciple's manners anymore. To them, the reason the entire Ouyang clan had been annihilated was the most important right now. What reason is that? At once, the 9 great sects, high-ranking officials, including the few high-ranking officials from the moon illumination sect, looked at the moon illumination sect disciple altogether. Chapter 1506. The moon illumination sect's disciple who barged in was just an ordinary inner court disciple. He had rushed in because he was shocked by the news. When he saw the high-ranking officials from the 9 great sects turn to look at him in unison, he stiffened immediately. He could not utter a word at all, even though he had already regained his senses and opened his mouth. "You don't have to be nervous. You can take your time," Tan Quan said encouragingly to the moon illumination sect's disciple with a smile when he saw how stiff he was. Thanks to the encouragement from the vice sect leader, the moon illumination sect's disciple took a deep breath before he began to said slowly, "The news that's spreading around is rumored to be released by the mountainshade black market. They had annihilated the Ouyang clan because someone from the Ouyang clan had pretended to be from the mountainshade black market." Mountainshade black market. The minute the moon illumination sect's disciple finished his sentence, all the high-ranking officials of the 9 great sects who were present gasped. Humph. In the future, let's not say things without any evidence. After Tan Quan recovered from the shock, he immediately looked at the high-ranking officials of the other 8 great sects and sneered. Although the high-ranking officials from the other 8 great sects were displeased with Tan Quan's sneer, they remained quiet. They were in the wrong after all. Vice sect leader Tan, let's not dwell on that matter anymore. What needs to be discussed now is the matter regarding what the mountainshade black market has done. This time, they've really crossed the line. They obviously knew the Ouyang clan is supported by the 9 sect alliances, and yet, they still annihilated them. A white-bearded old man said huffily, a discontented expression on his face. "You can't say that. The mountainshade black market has put the word out that someone from the Ouyang clan had pretended to be one of them. That's why they were annihilated." "That's right. That person from Ouyang clan was digging his own grave by doing that. I've also heard about the rules of mountainshade black market. Whichever clan the impersonator belongs to will be annihilated once it's confirmed. The Ouyang clan brought it upon themselves. There's no one else to blame." The high-ranking officials of the sects, including the moon illumination sect, felt that Ouyang clan had brought this upon themselves, and the mountainshade black market was not to be blamed. Even they knew of the Mountainshade black market's rules, it was impossible that people from the Yang clan was unaware of it. Nevertheless, people from the Yang clan still dared to impersonate someone from the Mountainshade black market. They were simply looking for death. You can't say that, even if the Yang clan was wrong regarding this matter, they shouldn't have been annihilated. They could have just killed the impersonator. He should bear the responsibility for his own wrongdoing instead of dragging the entire clan down. Yes, I also feel the Mountainshade black market went overboard this time. It seems more like a show of strength to us. I feel the same way as well. I think we should send people to talk to them. There were also high-ranking officials from several sects who were dissatisfied with the Mountainshade black market, and that included the Profound Talisman sect. The other sects were sects that had a close relationship with the Profound Talisman sect. It was no secret that in the areas under the 9 sect alliances that the Profound Talisman sect were mortals enemies of the Mountainshade black market. This was because the former sect leader of Profound Talisman sect had died in the hands of a powerhouse from the Mountainshade black market. It was also because of the Mountainshade black market's powerhouse that the Profound Talisman sect's 3-star Dao Talisman master, who was also the sect leader of the Profound Talisman sect at that time, had to swear a lightning penalty oath. He had sworn on the lightning penalty oath that the 3-star offensive Dao talismans he had drawn would not be given to people outside of the Profound Talisman sect in any way. Everyone in the Profound Talisman sect who received 3-star offensive Dao talismans had to swear on the lightning penalty oath that they would not give the talismans away to someone else. Due to that reason, even though the Profound Talisman sect had a Dao Talisman master who could draw 3-star offensive Dao talismans, none of it was allowed to be given to outsiders, causing the sect to lose a great business opportunity. The Profound Talisman sect had always regarded that as their most humiliating moment. Therefore, they had always antagonized the Mountainshade black market. The powerhouse from Mountainshade black market acted that way toward the Profound Talisman sect because they did not want 3-stars offensive Dao talismans to be carelessly sold in the areas under the 9 sect alliances since it would affect some of their businesses to some extent. Just imagine if a Perfection Saint Rudiment stage 2-star assassin was assassinating a target whose cultivation base was far less powerful but was able to throw out a 3-star offensive Dao talisman that could potentially kill the assassin. That would mean the assassin had failed his mission, and in turn, it would affect the reputation of the Mountainshade black market. What mattered the most to them was their reputation. Due to that reason, the Mountainshade black market would not allow 3-star offensive Dao talismans to be sold freely in the areas under the 9 sect alliances. The vice sect leader of Moon Illumination sect, Tan Quan, naturally knew the tricks they were trying to pull and said scornfully, "Humph. Since all of you want to have a talk with the Mountainshade black market, you should go ahead on your own. I'm sorry to say, but we disagree with this. Yes, just go on your own. If you succeed, we'll hold a celebratory dinner for you." That's right. The other high-ranking officials from sects that were indifferent to the Profound Talisman sect also added. As high-ranking officials from the sects, all of them were certainly sly old foxes. Naturally, they could see the Profound Talisman sect wanted to drag them along and confront the Mountainshade black market together. They would not be stupid enough to be the blades in the Profound Talisman sect's hand. The few other sects that had always had a close relationship with the Profound Talisman sect were usually given a great discount on Dao talismans. However, they did not enjoy such treatment. Although the 9 sect alliances was an alliance, they were not completely united. Unless the Mountainshade black market was going to destroy all the 9 great sects, they would never be truly united. Based on the Mountainshade black market's behavior in recent years, they did not show such ambitions. You, the old man with a goatee, the vice sect leader of Profound Talisman sect, could only stew in his own anger and glare when he heard Tan Quan and the few other vice sect leaders' words. Are we even in the same alliance? Vice sect leader have you forgotten the reason we formed the 9 sect alliances? Tan Quan sneered. This time, the Mountainshade black market could have concealed the fact that they were the ones who had annihilated the Yang clan, but they didn't. They spread the news precisely because they wanted to make a statement and warn other people. The Yang clan was wrong in this matter even though the Mountainshade black market did go overboard by annihilating the whole clan. However, is this the first time we witness their ways of doing things? Tan Quan stared pointedly at the Profound Talisman sect's vice sect leader, He Yin. Tan Quan. He Yin's face darkened. He was furious. Naturally, he understood the underlying meaning in Tan Quan's words. He was referring to the incident where the former sect leader of Profound Talisman sect was killed by a Mountainshade black market powerhouse and the sect was forced to swear not to give 3-star offensive Dao talismans to outsiders. A short and ugly-looking middle-aged man said scornfully, "Vice sect leader Tan, you've gone overboard. Even if you don't dare to offend the Mountainshade black market, you didn't have to boost the Mountainshade black market's morale and reduce the 9 sect alliances. Courage. What a serious allegation to pin on me." Tan Quan sneered. "What did I say? Did my words really boost the Mountainshade black market's morale and reduce the 9 sect alliances? Courage. Aren't you overthinking things? Why don't you tell everyone what's on your mind?" After listening to Tan Quan's words, the short middle-aged man was so angry that he was rendered speechless. Naturally, he could hear the underlying meaning in Tan Quan's words. It was not only him, but everyone present understood the underlying meaning. Tan Quan was referring to the humiliating incident that happened to the Profound Talisman sect again. However, Tan Quan did not state it clearly so he would not blatantly offend the Profound Talisman sect. He would not do such a stupid thing. Regardless, the matter came to end with Tan Quan and the others' disapproval. If the Profound Talisman sect and the few other sects managed to convince the Moon Illumination sect and the others to denounce the crimes of Mountainshade black market, they might have felt more confident. However, if they were asked to go on their own, they definitely would not dare to do it. Even if the Mountainshade black market based in the area under the 9 sect alliances was just the smallest, lowest tier branch under the Mountainshade black market, they were still not something several 7th-rate sects could deal with. I'm afraid junior brother Duan will be glad if he finds out that the Yang clan has been annihilated. Dong Hui's eyes flashed as he secretly thought to himself. Regardless of how chaotic Han River City was, Duan Lingtian was unaware of it since he was on his way back to the Moon Illumination sect. With his current speed, it would take him some time to return to the Moon Illumination sect since Han River City was quite a distance away from the sect. When Duan Lingtian arrived at the Moon Illumination sect and learned that the Yang clan was annihilated, he was also stunned. Impersonating someone from the Mountainshade black market. When Duan Lingtian heard the news, he immediately thought of that night at Han River City. The second elder of Yang clan, Yang Shan, had appeared, and it seemed like he had lied about being from the Mountainshade black market. At that time, he knew about Yang Shan's identity, therefore he was certain that he was not from the Mountainshade black market. However, he did not expect the lie Yang Shan told in an attempt to trick him would bring such a tragedy to the Yang clan. Apart from Yang Shan who had died, only Yang Qing and I know about Yang Shan impersonating someone from the Mountainshade black market. Could it be Yang Qing who had spread the news? Duan Lingtian shook his head when that thought popped up in his mind. He did not think it was possible. If it's not Yang Qing, that means there was a 4th person present at that time. Duan Lingtian felt chills running up his spine when he thought about this. Someone who had hidden himself so perfectly from him would be at the Paramount Saint Rudiment stage at least. In fact, they might even be a Saint stage powerhouse. If that person had intended to harm him, he would not be a match for him even if he had 3-star offensive Dao talismans. Duan Lingtian instantly took a deep breath to calm his chaotic emotion. Chapter 1507. Duan Lingtian was only slightly shocked and surprised by the fact that Yang clan had been annihilated, and he forgot about it soon enough. However, there was something that annoyed him. Huang Cheng has left his post and disappeared. The thing Duan Lingtian did not want to see happened had come to pass. The Moon Illumination sect's outer court elder, Huang Cheng, who wanted to kill him back then had chosen to leave the Moon Illumination sect after he failed to kill him. He must have been worried that I'll return to the Moon Illumination sect and tell senior brother Bai Li about him trying to kill me. Duan Lingtian was almost certain about this. Although Huang Cheng was an outer court elder, his senior brother, Bai Li Hong, could easily kill him if he wanted to. In fact, he did not even have to do it himself. The days after Duan Lingtian returned to the Moon Illumination sect was not peaceful either. At the very least, it was not peaceful around him. It was because along with the news of the annihilation of the Yang clan, the news of him breaking through to the Saint Rudiment stage had also spread in the entire Moon Illumination sect quickly. Needless to say, it shocked the entire sect. Oh, God, someone, please tell me that this isn't real. Many inner court disciples cried out loud. Those inner court disciples were the ones who had witnessed Duan Lingtian defeating He Zhang and verified his cultivation base back then. All of them were certain Duan Lingtian was only a martial cultivator at the perfection mortal shedding stage when he defeated He Zhang. However, not much time had passed, and Duan Lingtian had broken through to the Saint Rudiment stage. Did Elder Bai Li fed him some spirit pills, miracle herbs, or rare spirit fruits? I've never heard of any spirit pills, miracle herbs, or rare spirit fruits that can help a person progress from the perfection mortal shedding stage to the Saint Rudiment stage within a span of a few months. Is that Duan Lingtian even human? Why do I feel like he's the reincarnation of a celestial being? It's getting more and more outrageous. Maybe he had some fortuitous encounter. No matter what, the news about Duan Lingtian breaking through to the Saint Rudiment stage was true. When Duan Lingtian revealed his strength at the Saint Rudiment stage, not only was many Moon Illumination sect's inner court disciples present, but there were also a lot of people from the other 8 sects. There was no way it could be staged. For a time, the entire Moon Illumination sect turned lively because of Duan Lingtian. If the Moon Illumination sect was akin to a pool of still water prior to Duan Lingtian's arrival, then he was undoubtedly the one that stirred the pool of still water. Junior brother, you've broken through to the Saint Rudiment stage. Bai Li Hong, who had just received the news, was also stunned. Although the news that was spreading outside said that Duan Lingtian's cultivation base had improved so quickly and outrageously because of him, he knew it was not true. He did not possess this sort of ability. Yes, Duan Lingtian nodded with a smile in response to Bai Li Hong's question. For a time, Bai Li Hong smiled bitterly with a complicated gaze. I'd originally thought that Junior Brother's innate talent in the Saint Inscription Dao is terrifying enough. Who knew your innate talent in the martial Dao is just as terrifying? No. This is more than terrifying, it's heaven-defying. In just a few months' time, he had improved from the perfection mortal shedding stage to the Saint Rudiment stage. This sort of progress was too heaven-defying. Only Duan Lingtian knew that he did not achieve it within the span of a few months. Even though his innate talent was fairly good, it was mostly because of the 7 Treasures Exquisite Pagoda. The time flow inside the 7 Treasures Exquisite Pagoda was extremely slow compared to the outside world. It provided him with an unimaginable cultivation environment that allowed him to catch up to others or even surpass them in the shortest time possible. Junior brother, now that you've broken through to the Saint Rudiment stage, you should be able to inscribe 2-star Saint inscriptions, right? Bai Li Hong asked. Yes. Duan Lingtian nodded. He did try inscribing a 2-star Saint inscription when he returned. He finally succeeded after failing a few times. Can you inscribe it with the strange inscription art? Bai Li Hong asked as his eyes brightened. After I came back, I've thought about inscribing a 2-star Saint inscription with the strange inscription art and walked through the steps in my head, but I haven't actually practiced or tried it yet, Duan Lingtian said. Will I be lucky enough to observe the process? Bai Li Hong asked with a smile. Sure, Duan Lingtian quickly agreed to it. At the same time, he began to try inscribing a 2-star Saint inscription using the strange inscription art in front of Bai Li Hong. Inscribing Saint inscriptions with the strange inscription art merely required half the number of materials required. After several trials, Duan Lingtian finally succeeded in inscribing a 2-star Saint inscription with the strange inscription art. The materials he used was less than half of the materials required if one were to inscribe it using the traditional Saint inscription method. Junior brother Duan, you're really a genius when it comes to the Saint inscription Dao. Bai Li Hong could not help but exclaim when he saw Duan Lingtian manage to inscribe a 2-star Saint inscription using the strange inscription art so quickly. I was thinking of how I should advise you to focus more on the Saint inscription Dao. Now, it seems like there's no need for that because no matter if it's your achievement in the martial Dao or your achievement in the Saint inscription Dao, they're way beyond an ordinary person. Ordinary people might not be able to handle both the martial Dao and the Saint inscription Dao at once, but that doesn't apply to you. The blind confidence Bai Li Hong had in Duan Lingtian was evident in his words. Senior brother, I'm ready to participate in the Inner Court Disciples assessment. When will the Inner Court Disciples assessment begin? Duan Lingtian asked. Junior brother, with your current strength, there's no point in joining the Inner Court Disciples assessment. I'll ask someone to go get the identity order token of an Inner Court Disciple for you, Bai Li Hong said. Duan Lingtian thought about it for a while before he agreed to it. With his current strength, even a Mastery Saint Rudiment stage powerhouse would not pose much of threat to him. Hence, he did not reject Bai Li Hong's noble intention. Junior brother, I still remember you previously promised me that if you ever join the Inner Court, you'll stay at my place, Bai Li Hong said as he squinted. Of course, I remember that, Duan Lingtian nodded and said with a smile, if senior brother doesn't mind, I'll be staying at your place from on now. Haha, great, I've already prepared a room for you, and it's cleaned every once in a while. You can move in immediately. Bai Lihong laughed happily as soon as Duan Lingtian agreed to it. Duan Lingtian felt touched by Bai Lihong's words. Right, how was your trip to Han River City? Was everything alright? Bai Lihong asked. He knew nothing about what happened to Duan Lingtian during his journey to Han River City and the things that had happened in Han River City because he did not have the time to ask around. In fact, he did not even know Duan Lingtian had left the Moon Illumination sect previously. However, he did not blame Duan Lingtian because he knew that Duan Lingtian did not want to bother or worry him. Duan Lingtian had long regarded Bai Lihong as his elder brother even though the age gap between them was quite vast. Therefore, he did not conceal anything that happened to him during his travels and told Bai Lihong everything. Naturally, he downplayed the dangerous parts. Even so, it still frightened Bai Lihong and made him shudder. Huang Cheng, a mere outer court elder, actually dared to covet your things and intend to kill you, he deserves to die. Don't worry, junior brother, I'll use my connections to find Huang Cheng and bring him to you so you can deal with him however you want. Bai Lihong was truly enraged. If in the beginning he was merely impressed by Duan Lingtian and had recognized him as his junior brother because he was worthy enough to inherit the strange inscription art, now, he really regarded Duan Lingtian as his junior brother. It was not only because he was the person who inherited the strange inscription art, but also because they got along well. When he was with Duan Lingtian, he felt like they had a friendship that transcended age. When he learned that Duan Lingtian almost died in Huang Cheng's hands, he could not suppress the anger he felt. Senior brother, don't be angry. I'm not concerned about Huang Cheng, Duan Lingtian said confidently with a faint smile. He was actually very confident. Even if he still could not fight Huang Cheng directly with his current strength, but given some time, he would certainly be able to surpass Huang Cheng in every way. The cultivation environment on the third level of the Seven Treasures Exquisite Pagoda was not something the second level could compare to. It was enough to bring him soaring to new heights. The black-robed man that came later should be an assassin from the Mountainshade Black Market if I'm not mistaken, Bai Lihong said solemnly. Fortunately, you met a savior, otherwise, it might end up in a disaster. Duan Lingtian had told him about the black-robed assassin. However, he omitted the part about the Devilseal tablet and merely said that a powerhouse who was passing by had stood up against the injustice and killed the black-robed man. Yes, luckily I met a savior. It's a pity that when I asked him for his name and where he's from, he left without responding, Duan Lingtian exclaimed. His act seemed very real. Naturally, Bai Lihong did not doubt Duan Lingtian. He nodded and said, that savior of yours must either be a reclusive powerhouse staying in the area under the 9 sect alliances or he's from a force that's at least at the same level as the Moon Illumination sect. From your description, the black-robed man who wanted to kill you should be a 3-star assassin from the Mountainshade Black Market, however, your savior killed him easily. This means he's not an ordinary Saint Stage powerhouse, Bai Lihong said as his eyes shone with gratitude toward Duan Lingtian's savior. In one of the spacious residences in the inner court, Lu Huan's face darkened in anger when he learned that not only did Duan Lingtian return safely, but he had even broken through to the Saint Rudiment stage. Impossible, impossible, it's impossible that he's still alive, Lu Huan muttered after taking a deep breath. An expression of disbelief was apparent on his face. Chapter 1508, Unless the people from Mountainshade Black Market haven't made a move. Although he found it hard to believe Duan Lingtian had returned alive, he was indeed alive and well. Lu Huan could only accept the fact regardless of how reluctant he was. For a time, he kept thinking the people from Mountainshade Black Market had not made their move. That's not right. The Mountainshade Black Market and I had agreed on a time. Once the time has passed without any result, it would be considered as a failure. It's long past the time that we had agreed to. This means they had failed the mission. Lu Huan's thought to himself as his face darkened again. Soon after, he left his own residence in the Moon Illumination sect and headed in the direction of Han River City. He was going to confirm it personally. When Lu Huan left, many people in the Moon Illumination sect had learned about Duan Lingtian's breakthrough to the Saint Rudiment stage. Impossible, impossible, that's impossible. It can't be. Once Yi Man came out from his closed-door cultivation, he heard the news about Duan Lingtian breaking through to the Saint Rudiment stage. He felt lost for a moment. He thought that after coming to the Moon Illumination sect, he would be able to redeem himself of his past shame and have Duan Lingtian groveling at his feet or even kill him. However, God seemed to be pulling a prank on him. Even when he deviated to the devil Dao due to his obsession and managed to improve his cultivation by leaps and bounds, he was still far behind Duan Lingtian. Duan Lingtian always seemed to be ahead of him. No, no, no. Suddenly, wisps of devil chi began to emit out of Yi Man's body as his eyes turned blood red. At the same time, he rushed out of his independent courtyard and began attacking everyone he saw as though he had lost his mind. When Yi Man came out from his closed-door cultivation this time, his cultivation base had reached the paramount mortal shedding stage. In the outer court, only a few people were a match for him. Just a few moments later, there were already several outer court disciples who died in his hands. They were all torn into pieces by him with his bare hands. The bloody scene terrified the other outer court disciples, and they began to run away. Someone's killing people. Someone's killing people. Yi Man's experiencing chi deviation, and he's killing people. Elders, deacons, help. Save me. All the outer court disciples who witnessed Yi Man killing people ran away as they shouted loudly. Those who were targeted by Yi Man were constantly calling out for help as well. Unfortunately, the outer court elders and outer court deacons took some time before they arrived after they received the news. Hence, Yi Man managed to kill a dozen more people before they finally arrived. The devil chi would surge even more every time he killed someone. In the end, he even had a breakthrough to the early Saint Rudiment stage. Early Saint Rudiment stage, Yi Man who had lost his mind instantly regained his senses when he had a breakthrough. At this moment, he realized the trouble he was in. Duan Lingtian, you're at the Saint Rudiment stage, and now, I'm also at the Saint Rudiment stage. One day, I'll have you begging at my feet. After breaking through to the Saint Rudiment stage, Yi Man's self-confidence seemed to have returned. When he realized the impending crisis that was coming for him, he hurriedly fled from the Moon Illumination sect without any hesitation at all. However, how could his speed compete with the speed of the outer court elders? A few moments later, a few outer court elders appeared and surrounded him as they stared at him. At the same time, a gust of wind appeared before another person materialized before Yi Man. Elder Dongfang. The few outer court elders bowed at him respectfully when they saw him. The person who came was the greatest outer court elder, Dongfang Quan. The few outer court elders did not expect this matter would bring Dongfang Quan here. However, when they thought about the severity of the matter, they no longer thought his presence here was surprising. On the contrary, it would be unreasonable if Elder Dongfang did not make an appearance. After all, he was the person in charge of the outer court of Moon Illumination sect. All the outer court elders had to listen to his orders and obey him. You're really daring. You actually dare to attack your own senior brothers and junior brothers. Dongfang Quan's expression was slightly gloomy. He did not expect something so dreadful to happen when he was the greatest elder of the outer court. Such incident rarely happened in the history of the Moon Illumination sect. Although Yi Man had not seen the old man in front of him before, he could tell what his identity was judging by the way the surrounding outer court elders addressed him. Yi Man's expression instantly turned solemn. After taking a deep breath, Yi Man moved his hand and a light streaked away quickly. Two bloody wounds simultaneously appeared on his palms. It bled profusely with no signs of stopping. At the same time, Yi Man put his palms together, and a dazzling blood-red light instantly shone. Oh, no! Dongfang Quan's expression changed dramatically when he saw this. Even the few outer court elders' expressions had changed. As soon as their expression changed, they quickly made their moves as well. However, even when the fastest among them, Dongfang Quan, arrived near Yi Man, he did not even manage to touch him. He merely dispersed the bloody fog Yi Man had formed. Yi Man who was still here a moment ago had just vanished before their very eyes. Blood escape. It's blood escape. One of the outer court elders said with a darkened expression, this Yi Man is actually a Saint Rudiment stage devil cultivator. Blood escape was a method that could only be mastered by devil cultivators above the Saint Rudiment stage. Once a devil cultivator used the blood escape, they were instantly granted speed far above their cultivation base to escape. This was a devil cultivator's life-saving secret tactic. Naturally, the blood escape secret tactic came with an enormous price tag since it was outrageously powerful. Apart from only being able to use it 3 times in their lives, they would burn their own life energy and lose their strength for a short period of time after using it. Unless they were in a life or death situation, it was unlikely they would use blood escape. All of you are not aware there's a Saint Rudiment stage devil cultivator like him lurking in the outer court all this time. Dongfang Quan said as he glanced at the outer court elders with a gloomy expression. The devil cultivator had even killed several people at the outer court. Moreover, he even escaped right under his watch. This was absolutely humiliating for him. Dongfang Quan left the Moon Illumination sect's estate like a gust of wind as the few outer court elders exchanged bitter smiles with each other. In any case, he still had to try his best to hunt down the devil cultivator who had escaped to account for the outer court disciples who died into the sect. Although his chances were slim, he knew it's the best time to look for the devil cultivator since he had lost all his strength and would not be able to go far. When Dongfang Quan went after Yi Man, the few outer court elders returned to the outer court. However, they did not dare to say too much about the matter. No matter how the other outer court elders or outer court deacons asked, they merely said they had met Dongfang Quan halfway through, and he had asked them to return and calm the outer court disciples while he chased after Yi Man himself. Elder Dong Chong, Yi Man had joined the sect under your supervision. I'm afraid you won't be able to get out of this one, an outer court elder said as he looked at Dong Chong. Dong Chong was the outer court elder responsible for the entrance assessment when Duan Lingtian and Yi Man joined the Moon Illumination sect. Dong Chong could not help but smile bitterly when he heard the words. He had already mentally prepared himself. If the sect laid down the rules from the beginning to prevent devil cultivators from joining, this wouldn't have happened. Many outer court elders stood up for Dong Chong. At the end of the day, the responsibility of this matter lies with the sect. It's not Elder Dong Chong's fault because he had only acted in accordance with the sect. That's right, everyone knows Yi Man is a devil cultivator, but no one expects him to lose his mind and kill so many outer court disciples. All the outer court elders were filled with indignation. Alright, what we have to do now is to calm the remaining outer court disciples. I'm afraid the incident today will leave a psychological trauma on them. It can get serious, so we must minimize the damage. One of the calmer outer court elders seemed to have analyzed the situation at hand. That's right, now's not the time to complain about the sect's rules. It's important that we calm the remaining outer court disciples. Dong Chong agreed. It had already been 3 days when Duan Lingtian finally learned about the matter. During the past 3 days, he was inscribing 2-star saint inscriptions using the strange inscription art in a quiet room at Bai Li Hong's residence. Finally, he managed to master inscribing 2-star saint inscriptions using the strange inscription art at the impeccable stage. He only left the quiet room after he had succeeded. Once he left the quiet room, he heard about the incident in the outer court where a devil cultivator killed a lot of people. Yi Man, Duan Lingtian had a strange expression on his face when he found out the devil cultivator was Yi Man. He was no stranger to Yi Man. In fact, he had met him when he first arrived at the Dao Martial Saint Land. At that time, he even snatched his spot in the latent dragon camp in Mount Hill City. 1 year later, he met Yi Man again at the Moon Illumination sect's entrance assessment. He had noticed Yi Man's hatred and killing intent. It was obvious he wished he could kill him. However, he had never considered Yi Man as a threat. He was not afraid of Yi Man before he deviated to the Devil Dao, even more so when he had fallen to the Devil Dao. Unless the cultivation base of Yi Man who had deviated to the Devil Dao surpassed him by 2 levels, he would not be able to go against Duan Lingtian who could use the Devil Suppressant energy from the Devil Seal tablet. He was destined to be crushed under the power of the Devil Suppressant energy. He must have experienced a chi deviation, Duan Lingtian thought to himself. Have they caught him? Duan Lingtian asked Bai Li Hong. According to their announcement, they said they haven't caught him, Bai Li Hong said. They haven't caught him. How's that possible? Duan Lingtian found it hard to believe. Chapter 1509. Although Yi Man was a devil cultivator who experienced a chi deviation and had greatly increased his strength, he was merely a paramount mortal shedding stage devil cultivator. Theoretically, it was impossible for him to escape from a group of outer court elders and outer court deacons. Moreover, Yi Man had killed so many outer court disciples. His nature was so terrible that it shook all of the Moon Illumination sect's high-ranking officials. Even the outer court's greatest elder, Dongfang Quan, had to personally deal with the matter. Duan Lingtian had dealt with Dongfang Quan before. He knew that Dongfang Quan's strength was comparable to an inner court elder. With him dealing with it personally, how could Yi Man have escaped? I heard that Yi Man used blood escape, Bai Li Hong said. Blood escape? Duan Lingtian's eyes narrowed. Naturally, He knew what blood escape was. Blood escape is a move that can only be used by devil cultivators above the Saint Rudiment stage. Does it mean Yi Man has broken through to the Saint Rudiment stage? Duan Lingtian was shocked. The speed of a Saint Rudiment stage devil cultivator when they use blood escape secret tactic was comparable to the speed of a Saint stage powerhouse. Once they use the blood escape secret tactic, terrible side effects aside, their speed would increase outrageously to the extent it would be raised a level higher. This is why even if Yi Man was merely an early Saint Rudiment stage devil cultivator, once he used the blood escape secret tactic, no one under the Saint stage could make him stay. Speaking of this Yi Man, he seemed to have joined the sect at the same time you did, junior brother. Bai Li Hong sighed. I didn't expect there's someone else with such a monstrous talent apart from you among the disciples who were recruited this time. Too bad he had killed in the sect. He would never be accepted by the sect again. Besides, his future achievement would be greatly reduced since he used the blood escape secret tactic, Bai Li Hong said. A devil cultivator above the Saint Rudiment stage could only use the blood escape secret tactic at most 3 times in their lives. They would die if they used it the 3rd time. Therefore, ordinary devil cultivators would only dare to use it twice if they wanted to live. Moreover, every time they used it, it would take a huge toll on their bodies. Not only would the side effect affect their lifespan, but it would also affect their future cultivation. I'm afraid it's going to be difficult for Dongfang Quan to report this matter to the sect leader, Bai Li Hong muttered as he shook his head. As someone who had opened up 99 saint veins, Duan Lingtian had extraordinary hearing, thus, he could easily hear Bai Li Hong's words. He could understand his concern. Regardless, Dongfang Quan was the greatest elder in the outer court. He was in charge of the entire outer court. He would definitely be punished for letting something like that happen in the place he was in charge of. Moreover, he was not able to apprehend that person. Junior brother, about Yi Man's escape, please keep it to yourself and don't spread it around. They had announced that Yi Man was caught and would be executed in a few days. Bai Li Hong said. I understand. Duan Lingtian nodded. Although Bai Li Hong did not say why, it was not difficult for Duan Lingtian to guess the reason. The Moon Illumination sect's high-ranking officials were most likely worried that once the news of Yi Man's escape was leaked, the outer court disciples would descend into panic again. The only way to calm down the fears of the outer court disciples and restore peace to the outer court was to say they had caught Yi Man. 3 days later, the sect leader of the Moon Illumination sect gave an order to execute Yi Man. Duan Lingtian was also present on that day. When Duan Lingtian saw Yi Man who was tied up in the middle of the execution ground and surrounded by a big crowd, he could not help but exclaim inwardly, such an impressive disguise. He looks almost exactly like Yi Man. If I didn't know that Yi Man had escaped, I would have thought that he's Yi Man. He's Yi Man, the devil cultivator who killed 23 outer court disciples. Devil cultivators are like ticking bombs. In my opinion, I think the sect should impose a rule and ban devil cultivators from joining the sect. That's right. Once the rule is in place, we can completely eliminate the chance of something like this happening again. Many Moon Illumination sect's disciples were discussing among themselves. Even some of the inner court disciples had an expression of fear on their faces when the words, devil cultivators, were mentioned. Hey, all of you are discriminating against devil cultivators. So what if someone is a devil cultivator? Take me for example, I've never experienced chi deviation. Besides, don't you forget that there are 2 devil cultivators among the few saint stage powerhouses in our sect. How can you discriminate against them like this? One of the inner court disciples who was also a devil cultivator protested. Instantly, the group of Moon Illumination sect's disciples fell silent. Yes, there were 2 devil cultivators among the saint stage powerhouses in the sect. Obviously, it was impossible for the sect to impose a rule to ban devil cultivators from joining. The subsequent scene was simple. One of the Moon Illumination sect's enforcement elder had personally executed Yi Man. After killing Yi Man, he looked around and said in a deep voice, the sect has never rejected devil cultivators because we value their speed of cultivation and extraordinary strength. However, a devil cultivator will always be a devil cultivator. They're like a double-edged sword to the sect. The sect has been using this double-edged sword smoothly until recently when an oddity like Yi Man appeared. Duan Lingtian could not help but feel drowsy when he heard the enforcement elder speaking in official jargon. Duan Lingtian could guess his subsequent speech without even listening. He would most certainly give a warning to the other devil cultivators. Here, I'd like to warn the devil cultivators among the inner court disciples to avoid chi deviation while cultivating. If there's a risk of chi deviation, you should do it far away from the sect, let Yi Man serve as an example to you otherwise. Just as Duan Ling Tian had expected, the enforcement elder warned the devil cultivators present with his words. What he meant was simple. If devil cultivators were uncertain about their cultivation, they should cultivate far away from the sect so that they would not affect the sect if chi deviation occurred. If their chi deviated in the sect and they killed people in the sect, they would have to die. It should be noted that the enforcement elder's words were effective as the faces of the disciples who were devil cultivators turned solemn. With Yi Man as an example, they would not dare to be careless anymore. Just like that, Yi Man's incident came to an end, and peace was gradually restored in the Moon Illumination sect. With Bai Li Hong's status in the Moon Illumination sect, Duan Ling Tian received his identity order token for inner court disciples in just a few days' time. Duan Ling Tian had also officially joined the Moon Illumination sect's inner court and moved into Bai Li Hong's mansion. Due to Duan Ling Tian's relationship with Bai Li Hong, there were not many inner court disciples who dared to offend him even though he had just joined the inner court. In the following days, Duan Ling Tian entered the third level of the Seven Treasures Exquisite Pagoda and greedily inhaled the heaven and earth spirit energy in the air and the heaven and earth spirit energy inside the saint stones to improve his cultivation base. He desperately wanted to break through to the Mastery Saint Rudiment stage. Once he broke through to the Mastery Saint Rudiment stage, he would be able to master the true energy consolidated weapon. At that time, his strength would have a qualitative leap. Once I master the true energy consolidated weapon, I'm confident I'll be able to defeat even the strongest Perfection Saint Rudiment stage powerhouse. I'm not sure about Paramount Saint Rudiment stage powerhouses though. After all, they've mastered the true energy consolidated territory. Duan Ling Tian had personally witnessed how terrifying the true energy consolidated territory could be. That assassin whom he suspected was from the Mountainshade Black Market had formed the Blood Devil territory that easily obstructed him even though he was using a 3-star Divine Strider talisman. Within the Blood Devil territory, every Blood Devil was extremely powerful. I don't know what kind of territory I'll master when I break through to the Paramount Saint Rudiment stage. Duan Ling Tian was very eager to find out. One might be able to choose one's true energy consolidated weapon and true energy consolidated beast, but it was not the case with the true energy consolidated territory. It was entirely up to heaven. It was a gift from heaven that was as useful as one's arms. Just like the assassin whom Duan Ling Tian suspected to be from the Mountainshade Black Market, he was a devil cultivator who had mastered the Blood Devil territory. The territory was very suitable for him. While Duan Ling Tian was working hard on his cultivation, the Moon Illumination sect's inner court elder, Lu Huan, had arrived at Han River City and the Mountainshade Black Market's branch in the area under the influence of the 9 sect alliances. His purpose in coming here was simple. He wanted to ask the people from the Mountainshade Black Market if the mission he had put out had failed. What would happen next if it failed? Did it really fail? Even though he was mentally prepared, Lu Huan's face that was hidden under a mask still turned ghastly when he learned the mission had really failed. Guest, we failed your mission because we had underestimated your target. According to the rules of the Mountainshade Black Market, we'll refund you twice the amount you've paid, a person from the Mountainshade Black Market said apologetically to Lu Huan. In other words, if Lu Huan had previously spent 10,000 grade 6 saint stones to buy Duan Ling Tian's life, he would be compensated with another 10,000 grade 6 saint stones on top of what he had paid. However, Lu Huan was not happy at all. What if I want you to continue the mission? Lu Huan pressed. At this time, he merely thought the person whom the Mountainshade Black Market sent out was too weak. That had to be a reason why they failed. If you want us to continue with the mission, you don't have to pay us. It'll do if you just give us some time, the person from the Mountainshade Black Market said. Alright, I want you to continue with the mission, I hope you'll send out someone stronger this time. Don't let me down again, Lu Huan said, displeasure evident in his voice. Don't worry, the Mountainshade Black Market won't let you down again, the person from Mountainshade Black Market said. After Lu Huan left, inside one of the rooms in the Mountainshade Black Market's branch, 2 of the highest high-ranking officials in that branch got together again due to Lu Huan's mission. These 2 high-ranking officials were Yin Yang and Tai Wu. Yin Yang was the person in charge of the Mountainshade Black Market's branch in Han River City. He was usually responsible for taking care of the day-to-day matters. Tai Wu was the secret weapon of the Mountainshade Black Market's branch at the areas under the influence of the 9 sect alliances. He was usually rotated between the various branches of the Mountainshade Black Market in the areas under the 9 sect alliances. Recently, he had been on duty at Han River City. Tai Wu was also the Mountainshade Black Market powerhouse who killed the previous sect leader of Profound Talisman sect back then. Chapter 15:10. We are continuing with the previous mission that Kai Ming took on and failed, Yin Yang said as he looked at Tai Wu. Tai Wu nodded. This time, you're not going to let another 3-star assassin accept the mission, right? Although Kai Ming wasn't the best 3-star assassin, he could be considered to be among the top few. Naturally, I won't let another 3-star assassin accept the mission if even someone like him failed and was killed. This time, I intend to let Kai Mei do it, Yin Yang said as his dark eyes suddenly brightened. Some time ago, he had gone back to the lair of the Mountainshade Black Market's branch to verify that Kai Ming's soul pearl had already been broken. It broke during the time he was carrying out his mission. He was dead if his soul pearl was broken. Kai Mei. Tai Wu looked surprised. As far as I know, Kai Mei is considered a top-tier trump card at the branches in this area. She has never failed to kill any target below the Saint stage. That's right, Kai Mei's one of our trump cards at the branches in the areas under the 9 sect alliances. She's a quasi 4-star assassin. Yin Yang nodded. In the Mountainshade Black Market, a quasi 4-star assassin had strength equivalent to someone at the Imminent Saint stage. Because they were assassins, they would not confront their targets directly and would use a stealthy and unexpected approach. Therefore, the Mountainshade Black Market's quasi 4-star assassins were usually able to kill Imminent Saint stage powerhouses. Naturally, this did not mean they could kill all Imminent Saint stage powerhouses. Due to various reasons, some Imminent Saint stage powerhouses were as strong as weaker Saint stage powerhouses. It would still be quite difficult for these quasi 4-star assassins to kill these Imminent Saint stage powerhouses. However, there were not a lot of such Imminent Saint stage powerhouses in the 9 sect alliances areas. It was only possible for a 5th-rate force, 4th-rate force or a more powerful force to have such talents at the Imminent Saint stage. If Duan Lingtian's cultivation base rose to the Imminent Saint stage in the future, he would naturally belong to that category. His innate talent and potential were no weaker than the young talents from the powerful forces. With Kai Mei taking on this mission, the success should be as sure as a gun, Tai Wu said. Based on his words, it could be seen that he had full confidence in Kai Mei the quasi 4-star assassin. In addition to being a quasi 4-star assassin, Kai Mei was also a woman. She was the only female quasi 4-star assassin at Mountainshade Black Market's branches in the areas under the 9 sect alliances. Moreover, she was widely acknowledged as being number 1 among all the quasi 4-star assassins in the Mountainshade Black Market's branches. No one had ever seen Kai Mei's face. Even Yin Yang and Tai Wu had only seen Kai Mei's shapely body that was garbed in black. Put aside Kai Mei's face that was also concealed in black, any man would lust over Kai Mei just by looking at her fine figure. However, even Tai Wu and Yin Yang did not dare to act inappropriately. This was because Kai Mei had the support of the leader of the Mountainshade Black Market's branches in the areas under the influence of the 9 sect alliances. The relationship between Kai Mei and the leader of Mountainshade Black Market was a mystery to everyone. In fact, it was probable that only Kai Mei and the leader of Mountainshade Black Market knew about the nature of their relationship. Naturally, there were a lot of people from the Mountainshade Black Market who speculated secretly. Some said that Kai Mei was the leader's woman, while some others said that Kai Mei was the leader's illegitimate daughter. In fact, some even said that Kai Mei was the granddaughter of the leader. Regardless, Kai Mei's backstory was an unsolved mystery that intrigued the others. The Mountainshade Black Market's branch at Han River City was one of their main bases, but it was not the main lair of the Mountainshade Black Market's branches. The main lair of the Mountainshade Black Market's branches was located deep in a forested mountain north of Han River City. It was hidden beneath several layers of hallucinogenic formation. Apart from the high-ranking officials of Mountainshade Black Market's branches and some of the assassins who were considered trump cards who knew the way in, the other people from the Mountainshade Black Market's branches did not know how to enter even if they knew the location. The hallucinogenic formation at the Mountainshade Black Market branches main lair was very mysterious. It was jointly set up by a 4-star Saint Inscription Master and a 4-star Dao Talisman Master. Naturally, this did not mean the Mountainshade Black Market's branch had a 4-star Saint Inscription Master and a 4-star Dao Talisman Master because both of them were sent by the Mountainshade Black Market's top-tier branches. They merely there to help set up the formation for the Mountainshade Black Market's branches in the area under the influence of the 9 sect alliances. They had left after they completed the formations. It would be extremely tough for ordinary saint stage powerhouses to enter these hallucinogenic formations. Beyond the layers of hallucinogenic formations, there was a huge valley in the depths of the mountain with many independent courtyards. At first glance, they seemed to be everywhere in the mountains. Shoo! Suddenly, a sharp arrow that carried a jade token flew by and embedded itself on a wooden post of a house at the hillside. Almost at the same time the arrow was embedded into the wooden post, a purple bird materialized out of thin air. It pecked at the sharp arrow with its beak and easily pulled out the sharp arrow that embedded in the wooden post. The whole process seemed effortless. The purple bird suddenly vanished and appeared at the backyard. The backyard was obscured by clouds. It was obviously shrouded with formations too. The formation had completely blocked the house from sight. Naturally, it was extremely easy for the people inside to look out. There was a young woman seated beside a small pond in the backyard while she played with the water with her delicate feet. She had an extremely beautiful face and seemed to be deep in thoughts. One would not be able to tell what she thinking about. Sister, sister. The young woman only regained her senses and took the sharp arrow from the purple bird's beak when the purple bird appeared and began to speak. She threw the sharp arrow away, leaving only the jade token behind. After that, the young woman poured her spiritual energy into it. A few moments later, the information within the jade token appeared in her mind. Moon Illumination Sect, Duan Ling Tian, Saint Rudiment Stage. A few months ago, he was merely at the perfection mortal shedding stage. There's such a monstrous martial Dao prodigy at this place where the birds don't even want to sh*t. The young woman was a bit surprised. To ask me to personally take on such a target, are all those 3-star assassins trash? The young woman suddenly frowned. However, after she sorted out all the information in her mind, she unfurrowed her brows. Kai Ming had failed. Interesting, it seems like we're going out. The young woman's final sentence was obviously directed to the purple bird. Finally, a mission. Sister, pass this mission to me, I'll definitely do a good job. The purple bird hovering in front of the young woman bowed as it flapped its wings. We'll see. The young woman smiled faintly. I guess that Moon Illumination Sect's disciple called Duan Ling Tian must have someone protecting him in the dark. My guess would be the 3-star Saint Inscription Master of Moon Illumination Sect, Bai Li Hong. His strength is comparable to an imminent Saint stage powerhouse if he unleashes his full strength. Sister, why don't you take the target and let me deal with that Bai Li Hong? When the purple bird heard the young woman's words, it quickly changed its tune. Based on its words, it did not seem bothered by Bai Li Hong even though his strength was comparable to an imminent saint stage powerhouse. If you talk anymore then you'll have to stay home. The young woman frowned and stared at the purple bird. The latter quickly shut up, not daring to make another sound. When the young woman came out after walking into a room, she was already dressed in a black garb. Her beautiful face was completely covered. However, her fine figure was enough to incur envy in other women and make men covet her. After a few moments, the woman vanished into thin air, and the purple bird disappeared along with her. There was a remote mountain range 10,000 miles west of the Mountainshade Black Market's branches, main lair. It seemed barren, not even a blade of grass could be seen. A figure that looked agitated was heading into the depths of the mountain range with a pearl tightly gripped in her hands. Brother, now that the Yang clan is gone, and father's also gone, you don't have to continue with your punishment anymore, I'm coming to get you out. The agitated figure was also a young woman. If Duan Ling Tian was here, he would have recognized the young woman as the second young miss of the Yang clan, Yang Ruo. Yang Ruo was supposed to die along with the rest of the Yang clan, but she was lucky enough to escape death because she had gone out at the right time. Although she had escaped death, it had not been easy for her as well. She had to hide from the Mountainshade Black Market's assassins as she hurriedly left Han River City. The direction Yang Ruo was headed in was the direction of the Nether Ridge that had been passed down in the Yang clan since a long time ago. Her objective was simple, she was looking for her brother. If the clan leader of Yang clan, Yang Ba, was still alive and learned about Yang Ruo's intention, he would have smiled bitterly because her thinking was too naive. Certainly, the blame could not be placed on Yang Ruo because there were only a few who knew the exact information about the Nether Ridge in the entire Yang clan. The Nether Ridge was a bottomless pit. Unless one had the ability to come out on their own, it would only lead to one's death. On another note, the pearl held by Ouyang Ruo was her brother, Ouyang Qing's soul pearl. She had taken it from the Ouyang clan's ancestral temple after the Ouyang clan was annihilated. On that day when she snuck into the Ouyang clan's ancestral temple, most of the soul pearls were already shattered. The remaining soul pearls belonged to lineal disciples who were not around. In the Ouyang clan, only lineal disciples were eligible to own a soul pearl. After retrieving her own soul pearl and Ouyang Qing's soul pearl, Ouyang Ruo left Han River City and made her way to the Nether Ridge. Chapter 15:11. In just a blink of an eye, 2 months had passed. Duan Lingtian left the third level of the Seven Treasures exquisite pagoda and exited his room, looking refreshed as his face showed a brilliant smile. It was obvious Duan Lingtian was feeling extremely good. I finally broke through to the Mastery Saint Rudiment stage. The brilliant smile slowly faded into a small grin after he heaved a sigh of relief. 10 months had passed inside the Seven Treasures exquisite pagoda while only 2 months had passed in the real world. Apart from cultivating Saint-grade martial tactic during those 10 months, Duan Lingtian also focused on his cultivation base which led to his breakthrough. However, Duan Lingtian discovered he still could not use the true energy consolidated weapon technique even after breaking through to the Mastery Saint Rudiment stage. Duan Lingtian had asked Bai Lihong questions regarding true energy consolidated weapon and learned that it was a technique that allowed the user to consolidate an independent weapon of the user's choice from the user's true energy. It might be an arrow this time and a blade next time. True energy consolidated weapon could consolidate a weapon of the user's choice without any limitations. True energy consolidated weapon was also the only technique among the 3 techniques that could be mastered by a Paramount Saint Rudiment stage martial cultivator that did not have any limitations. True energy consolidated beast could not change its form after it was consolidated. There were 2 ways to consolidate the beast using the true energy consolidated beast technique. It could be solidified through pure imagination or through a wild beast or a saint beast's blood essence. However, the power of a consolidated beast through pure imagination was far inferior compared to the consolidated beasts that were formed from blood essence. The former only had the beast's shape and form while the latter would not only have the beast's shape and form but also its force. All the consolidated beasts Duan Lingtian had seen up until now were consolidated through pure imagination. This was because it was extremely difficult to come across a wild beast or a saint beast's blood essence. The blood essence needed to consolidate the true energy consolidated beast had several conditions. The blood essence needed to be from a beast with a high-level bloodline like the dragons or phoenixes, otherwise, it had to be from a perfection Saint Rudiment stage beast. Therefore, only very few people would consolidate the true energy consolidated beast using a beast's blood essence. Only those with extraordinary background and powerhouses to help them extract the blood essence were able to master it. Since I've already fused with the blood essence of a 5-clawed devil dragon, I'll be able to consolidate a 5-clawed devil dragon with my true energy when I reach the perfection Saint Rudiment stage, Duan Lingtian said to himself with high hopes. Since his true energy consolidated beast technique used the 5-clawed devil dragon's blood essence as its foundation, Duan Lingtian should be able to defeat about 90% of the consolidated beasts among his peers. It was not entirely impossible for him to challenge an enemy from a higher level as well. Duan Lingtian discovered he was able to consolidate a sword from his true energy with just a thought as soon as he left the Seven Treasures exquisite pagoda. A huge true energy consolidated sword hovered in front of him. With another thought, a wave of sonic boom surged up and flashed in the sky. It seems like the true energy consolidated weapon technique can't be used inside the Seven Treasures exquisite pagoda, Duan Lingtian said in relief. He was worried that he could not master the technique, and as a result, it would put him in a disadvantageous position if he was battling other Mastery Saint Rudiment stage martial or Dao cultivators. When Duan Lingtian was focused on consolidating various weapons and playing with them like a little kid with a new toy on Christmas morning, a loud voice came from outside. True energy consolidated weapon, Duan Lingtian knew Bai Lihong had come judging from the voice. Senior brother. Duan Lingtian greeted Bai Lihong with a smile while a true energy consolidated spear dispersed with just a thought. However, Bai Lihong did not respond to him. He only stared at him as though it was their first time meeting. Although Bai Lihong knew Duan Lingtian had reached the Saint Rudiment stage, he assumed that Duan Lingtian had only reached the early stage. He did not expect him to surprise him so much after only 2 months. In just 6 months, the cultivation base of the person in front of him rose to the Saint Rudiment Mastery stage from the mortal shedding perfection stage. He did not think a genius like this existed in this world prior to this. Is there anything I can help you with, senior brother? Duan Lingtian asked when he saw Bai Li Hong staring at him blankly. Duan Lingtian roughly knew what was going through Bai Li Hong's mind, and he was more curious about the purpose of his visit. He would not just visit him for no good reason. Bai Li Hong finally regained his senses. He sized Duan Lingtian up before he finally replied, "You freak." Although this was not the first time Duan Lingtian had heard this comment, he still could not help but force a smile on his face when he heard this comment from a Moon Illumination sect's inner court elder. "I wonder, how do you cultivate, junior brother? Reaching the Saint Rudiment Mastery stage and mastering the true energy consolidated weapon in less than 6 months. Bai Li Hong could not help asking even though he knew this was one of Duan Lingtian's secret. Naturally, he was prepared for Duan Lingtian's refusal to reveal it since everyone had their own secrets. He did not feel like it was absolutely necessary for him to obtain an answer from Duan Lingtian since his question was asked in the spur of the moment. "Senior brother, do you believe it's possible for someone to reach the Saint Rudiment Mastery stage from the mortal shedding perfection stage in less than 6 months? Duan Lingtian responded to Bai Li Hong with a question as he shook his head and smiled. "I didn't believe it's possible before, but the truth is standing right in front of my eyes. How can I not believe it?" Bai Li Hong replied with a forced smile. "If I tell you I have a secret tactic that allows me to hide my cultivation base, would you believe me?" Duan Lingtian asked laughingly. Bai Li Hong was stunned after hearing Duan Lingtian's words. He had considered this possibility before, but he had not heard of such a secret tactic. "I see." Bai Li Hong looked visibly relieved. Although it was shocking to hear about such a secret tactic, it was still less shocking than Duan Lingtian reaching the Saint Rudiment Mastery stage from the mortal shedding perfection stage in less than 6 months. Compared to that, Duan Lingtian having a secret tactic to conceal his cultivation was more acceptable to Bai Li Hong. Duan Lingtian was relieved Bai Li Hong believed his explanation. However, he felt sorry since he had to lie to him even though he treated him sincerely. Naturally, Duan Lingtian knew he had to lie to Bai Li Hong because the 7 Treasures Exquisite Pagoda was his biggest secret. If that secret was revealed, he would be in deep trouble. Duan Lingtian knew Bai Li Hong would keep his secret even if he told him the truth. However, news had a way of getting out. There are several spiritual secret tactics that allowed the user to read another person's soul, thoughts, and knowledge. Usually, it was extremely hard to defend against this type of secret tactic, and no information could be hidden from such a secret tactic. Duan Lingtian chose to keep it a secret due to this reason. He felt it was the best to keep this from Bai Li Hong. "Junior brother, I've been visiting you since a fortnight ago, but I saw you were busy so I didn't want to disturb you," Bai Li Hong said. "You've been visiting since a fortnight ago?" Duan Lingtian was surprised. "Is there anything urgent, senior brother?" "Yes." Bai Li Hong nodded. "Aren't you interested in all sorts of rare and weird materials? You'll finally have a chance to see them in the sect storehouse. With a little luck and my help, I think you'll be able to obtain the materials you desire there." It was obvious Bai Li Hong had heard about Duan Lingtian searching for materials in Milky Way City. Bai Li Hong had his eyes set on the Moon Illumination sect's storehouse after he heard about that incident. Unfortunately, the Moon Illumination sect's storehouse only allowed outstanding young disciples to enter under normal circumstances. It was hard for him to find a reason to enter the Moon Illumination sect's storehouse even though he was a prominent Moon Illumination sect's inner court elder. Usually, no one, not even the sect leader, would enter the storehouse. "The sect storehouse?" Duan Lingtian asked with a perplexed look on his face. "What's that?" "The sect storehouse is where all sorts of rare and weird things are kept. The things in there are passed down from the previous generations. There are some unpolished gems among them as well," Bai Li Hong explained. "However, our sect only allows outstanding young inner court disciples to enter the sect's storehouse every other year. There's no exception. So in other words, it'll be opened this year." After listening to Bai Li Hong's explanation, Duan Lingtian became extremely interested in Moon Illumination sect's storehouse. He felt the storehouse was like an untouched treasure cove. "Yes." Bai Li Hong nodded. "Our sect will gather all the inner court's disciples under 40 years old in a fortnight and organize a hunting trial. Outstanding participants of that trial will be given an opportunity to enter the sect's storeroom to select items they desire." Chapter 15:12 Chapter 1513 Vice Sect Leader, Zhang Huo. Inner Court Disciples who are 40 years old or younger. When Duan Lingtian heard Bai Lihong's words, all he did was reveal a calm smile. He did not look bothered about it, as though he did not feel any pressure at all. With his current strength, he did not fear those powerful top-tier inner court elders, let alone those inner court disciples in the Moon Illumination sect who were below 40 years old. He did not dare to say that he would be able to defeat a Paramount Saint Rudiment stage powerhouse, but those who were at the Perfection Saint Rudiment stage were basically no match for him as long as they were not particularly talented. Due to this reason, he felt the hunting assessment that was going to be held by the Moon Illumination sect annually was merely a formality to him. Yes. Bai Lihong nodded before smiling. This hunting assessment should be just a mere formality to you, junior brother. With your strength, it's very easy for you to obtain first place. Bai Lihong's tone filled with confidence for Duan Lingtian. With Duan Lingtian's cultivation base at the Mastery Saint Rudiment stage, none of the inner court disciples below 40 years old could compare to him at all in the Moon Illumination sect. Moreover, all the Moon Illumination sect's inner court disciples who were 40 years old or younger could already be considered as extraordinary if their cultivation base reached the intermediate Saint Rudiment stage. Duan Lingtian's achievement had far surpassed theirs. I acted on my own and signed you up. In 10 days' time, you'll depart and head to the venue of the hunting assessment. At that time, I'll come along with you as well, Bai Lihong added. You'll come as well, senior brother? Duan Lingtian was slightly shocked. Yes, I've asked for the position of a patroller from the sect leader to prevent people from playing favorites and violating the rules in the hunting assessment. Bai Lihong smiled. Don't tell me the sect leader isn't afraid you'll show favoritism and violate the rules for me. Duan Lingtian joked with a smile. With your cultivation base, do you even need to cheat, junior brother? Besides, even if I really help you cheat, the sect leader wouldn't say anything as well. Bai Lihong's words were filled with confidence. Among the inner court elders in the Moon Illumination sect, nobody else but him alone dared to say such words. Even those vice sect leaders did not have the guts to say such words, let alone the other inner court elders. Duan Lingtian was not surprised by this at all. His senior brother was not just a Moon Illumination sect's inner court elder but also the only 3-star saint inscription master in the Moon Illumination sect. His position was so high that it even surpassed those few vice sect leaders in the Moon Illumination sect. Even those saint stage powerhouses in the sect had to show respect to his senior brother. To Duan Lingtian, 10 days were equivalent to 50 days on the 3rd level of the 7 Treasures Exquisite Pagoda. 50 days were enough for him to do many things. Currently, the golden shirt has already been cultivated to the highest stage while the main technique of the colossal aerolite arrow has also been cultivated to the 4th stage. It's just a step away from the 5th stage, the impeccable stage, which is also the highest stage, Duan Lingtian mumbled to himself. On top of that, the offensive technique, the Gargantuan Taishan from the Golden Rock mass tactic has also made quite a progress. In these 50 days, I'll focus on cultivating the aerolite strike and the body and arrow synchronization from the colossal aerolite arrow. After I've cultivated both of these to the highest stage, the impeccable stage, I'll also cultivate and elevate my aerolite shower. The aerolite shower was one of the offensive techniques in the colossal aerolite arrow. It was also the foundation for the strongest technique in the colossal aerolite arrow, the colossal arrow bell. He would only be able to use the aerolite shower as a foundation to start cultivating the colossal arrow bell only when he had cultivated the aerolite shower to the highest stage. Although it was a defensive technique as well, the power of the colossal arrow bell was not something the golden shirt could compare to. The golden shirt was also a technique that was at the same level as the aerolite shower. The colossal arrow bell, on the other hand, was a powerful defensive technique that was on par with the defensive technique of an Earth-rank Saint-grade martial tactic. However, the Earth-rank Saint-grade martial tactic could only be cultivated when one was at the Saint stage or above. It was precisely because of this reason that Duan Lingtian had always been looking forward to the colossal arrow bell. That was why he had never neglected to cultivate the aerolite shower. Currently, his aerolite shower was close to making a breakthrough to the 4th stage. Ever since Elder Huo helped raise my cultivation base to the intermediate Saint Rudiment stage, I feel like it's much easier for me to cultivate the Saint-grade martial tactic. That feeling is like I've been enlightened. I can easily understand the things that I found difficult previously. Duan Lingtian had long noticed this. He had even asked Elder Huo about this, but he only managed to obtain 2 words from him as an answer. Sun body. Duan Lingtian's knowledge about the sun body was half-baked. Elder Huo only said his body was already a sun body, but as to what was so special about the sun body, Elder Huo did not expound on it. He only asked him to discover it on his own. Until now, the only special thing he had discovered was how he had a faster speed in cultivating the saint-grade martial tactic. However, just this one thing was enough to shock and excite Duan Lingtian. According to Elder Huo, there are still many secrets to the sun body. I wonder how many more surprises await me in the future. The moment Duan Lingtian thought of this, his heart was overwhelmed with an inexplicable sense of excitement again. 50 days were not too short, but they were not long either. When Duan Lingtian was in the midst of cultivating, the span of 50 days went by very quickly. Just as he had hoped for, he managed to cultivate his aerolite strike and body and arrow synchronization to the highest stage. Moreover, the aerolite shower had also been cultivated to the 4th stage. It was just a stage away from the highest stage. Once he made further progress, he would be able to start cultivating the colossal arrow bell. When the aerolite shower was cultivated to the 4th stage, 50 days had gone by on the 3rd level of the 7 Treasures Exquisite Pagoda. At this time, Duan Lingtian left the 7 Treasures Exquisite Pagoda. It was already midnight outside. The next day would be the day he would leave for the hunting assessment held by the Moon Illumination sect. Tonight, Duan Lingtian did not return to the 7 Treasures Exquisite Pagoda. Instead, he sat on the bed in his room with his eyes closed to attain mental composure. His thoughts had long flown away. By the time my cultivation base makes a breakthrough to the Perfection Saint Rudiment stage, I'll return to Half Moon Island, Duan Lingtian thought to himself. He believed that with the 7 Treasures Exquisite Pagoda, he would only need 3 months at most to make a breakthrough to the Perfection Saint Rudiment stage. Naturally, he meant 3 months in the real world. 3 months outside would be equivalent to 15 months on the 3rd level of the 7 Treasures Exquisite Pagoda. That was 1 year and 3 months. My children will be born very soon. When Duan Lingtian thought about this, his heart was filled with a wave of excitement again. This excitement far exceeded the excitement he felt when he made a breakthrough in his cultivation base. Once the 2 children were born, he would be a father. This was something he dared not even think of in his past life. In his past life, he was a mercenary who walked in the dark, and he was someone who needed to lick the blood off his sword. He did not even know what would happen in the next second. It was precisely because of this, the former him never thought of marrying and having children at all. However, in this life, he was going to have 2 children soon. When Duan Lingtian thought about this, he felt eager to return to Half Moon Island. The next morning, Duan Lingtian met up with Bai Li Hong before leaving together to gather with the others. The hunting assessment this time was personally managed by a vice sect leader of Moon Illumination sect. Other than the vice sect leader, another 3 inner court elders took the roles of patrollers, and Bai Li Hong was one of them. With Bai Li Hong's identity, even if he wanted to manage the hunting assessment personally, all he needed to do was say the words. However, he did not like to be in charge and merely wanted to be an idle patroller. Just as they gathered with the rest of the force, Duan Lingtian saw a sturdy old man walking toward him and Bai Li Hong before he greeted Bai Li Hong enthusiastically, "Elder Bai Li." The sturdy old man had a huge build. He was like a small hill. When he walked toward them, it was as though a hill was moving toward them, exuding an oppressive air. Vice sect leader Zhang. Bai Li Hong nodded his head in response to the sturdy old man. His words had also revealed this man's identity. He was none other than Zhang Huo, the person in charge of the hunting assessment and one of the vice sect leaders of Moon Illumination sect. This must be junior brother Duan Lingtian. Your elder Bai Li's junior brother, right? Soon after, Zhang Huo looked at Duan Lingtian and smiled. Vice sect leader, Duan Lingtian quickly replied, but he felt a little uncomfortable. Although Zhang Huo appeared harmless and ordinary, Duan Lingtian did not know why he made him uncomfortable. Moreover, Duan Lingtian could also faintly sense hostility emitting out of Zhang Huo's body. Naturally, the hostility he sensed was so weak that it made him wonder if he was mistaken. By right, this was their first meeting, so Zhang Huo had no reason to be hostile to him at all. Junior brother, this is Zhang Huo. He's the master of He Zhang, the outer court disciple you defeated previously. At this moment, Bai Li Hong's true energy voice transmission entered Duan Lingtian's ears and instantly dispelled all his doubts. He knew then he was not mistaken. So, he's actually He Zhang's master. Duan Lingtian finally understood. Since he was He Zhang's master, it was only normal for him to be hostile. He Zhang was Lu Huan's nephew and had been defeated by Duan Lingtian before. He was even forced by Duan Lingtian to swear on the lightning penalty oath to not go against Duan Lingtian in the future. When Duan Lingtian's eyes swept past Zhang Huo's back, he noticed He Zhang among the group of people behind him. He Zhang also became an inner court disciple. Duan Lingtian was stunned. He was not shocked by the fact that He Zhang had become an inner court disciple since his master was an almighty vice sect leader of the Moon Illumination sect. His master only needed to speak up for the sect to make an exception and let him into the inner court. What surprised him was the fact that when he activated his divine eye, he could see in just one glance that He Zhang's cultivation base had already reached the early saint rudiment stage. Chapter 15:13. When Duan Lingtian was probing He Zhang's cultivation base, He Zhang was also looking at him with a complicated gaze. The reason he had made a breakthrough so quickly to the saint rudiment stage was due to Duan Lingtian to a certain extent. This was because in these 3 months, after he heard about Duan Lingtian's breakthrough to the saint rudiment stage, he was deeply affected by it and began to feel pressured. Like the saying went, pressure gives rise to motivation. It was this invisible pressure that helped He Zhang make a breakthrough to the saint rudiment stage in a month. After he had broken through, he also officially became vice sect leader Zhang Huo's disciple. It was at that time the outer court disciples realized He Zhang had not been secretly taken in as a disciple by Lu Huan. In fact, it was vice sect leader Zhang Huo who had taken him as not just a disciple but a direct disciple. However, with all the ways Duan Lingtian had shocked them, they were already somewhat immune to it, so they were not too surprised with this news. After all, Duan Lingtian had become elder by Li Hong's junior brother. Who was elder by Li Hong? He was the #1 inner court elder who was recognized by the Moon Illumination sect. His position was so high that it even surpassed the few vice sect leaders in the sect. Moreover, even the few saint stage powerhouses in the Moon Illumination sect, including the sect leader, also had to be courteous when they meet by Li Hong. It was as though they had equal positions. From the moment Duan Lingtian was acknowledged by Bai Li Hong as his junior brother, his position in the Moon Illumination sect had also risen. Even He Zhang's master, Zhang Huo, one of the vice sect leaders of Moon Illumination sect, had to be courteous to Bai Li Hong and address Duan Lingtian as junior brother when they met. I can only hope uncle has dismissed the idea of going against Duan Lingtian and that he's not just brushing me off, He Zhang thought to himself. When he heard Bai Li Hong had accepted Duan Lingtian as his junior brother, the tiny bit of remaining enmity he felt toward Duan Lingtian quickly vanished without a trace. He had completely put the incident that happened in the past behind him. He knew that if he did not do so, he would only harm himself. It was because of Duan Lingtian that he managed to make a breakthrough to the saint rudiment stage faster than he had imagined. In his heart, he felt slightly indebted to him. Congratulations, He Zhang. Duan Lingtian took the initiative to greet He Zhang through his true energy voice transmission. He Zhang was stunned when he heard Duan Lingtian's words. This, congratulations, from Duan Lingtian was obviously intentional. All he could think about now was the matter of him breaking through to the saint rudiment stage. If he was not mistaken, up until now, only he and his master knew about his breakthrough. He had not revealed his cultivation base to the public yet. He had a feeling of being exposed now that Duan Lingtian had seen through him. Why, you can tell, He Zhang could not help but ask through true energy voice transmission after he took a deep breath. Duan Lingtian did not respond to him in regard to this. Instead, he merely smiled mysteriously at He Zhang. At this moment, the degree of danger Duan Lingtian posed rose a few levels in his heart. Soon after, the other 2 inner court elders who were also patrollers for the hunting assessment also took the initiative to greet Bai Li Hong enthusiastically, Elder Bai Li. The group of inner court disciples, including He Zhang, also took the initiative to greet Duan Lingtian politely, junior brother Duan. The 2 inner court elders also looked at Duan Lingtian and took the initiative to greet him as well. This scene made the group of inner court disciples feel green with envy. There were jealousy and hatred as well. However, there was nothing they could do. Who asked Duan Lingtian to be so talented in martial Dao and lived such a blessed life? After Bai Li Hong became his senior brother, he could basically roam freely in the Moon Illumination sect. Let's go. Bai Li Hong motioned for them to leave, and Zhang Huo gave an order to the group of people before they walked out of the Moon Illumination sect's monastery gate in a mighty formation. After they had left the Moon Illumination sect's monastery gate, they soared up into the sky and headed to the venue of the hunting assessment. Not long after the group of people left, In a spacious mansion in the inner court of Moon Illumination Sect, Lu Huan sat in front of the stone table in the courtyard. His hands were tapping lightly against the table. Duan Lingtian must have already left to participate in that hunting assessment at this hour, right? This is a good opportunity. I just hope the Mountainshade black market won't let me down again, Lu Huan muttered as killing intent flashed in his eyes. Besides, there's Fang Wei as well, so many years have gone by, it's time for us to end things completely. Initially, I didn't think he would be able to cause much trouble even if I let him be. I didn't expect he would be able to take in such an outstandingly talented disciple like Duan Lingtian. Lu Huan's eyes had a piercing look as it flashed with killing intent again. Very soon, he stood up and prepared to leave. Master. Right at this moment, a figure walked toward him. It was Su Qi. Su Qi's hand was holding a bowl of gruel. This is the clear jade gruel that I made for you, Master. Please drink it while it's hot. Indeed, you're the most thoughtful. That unfilial disciple of mine, Zhou Qi, has never even made me gruel before. Lu Huan was pretty satisfied with this disciple in front of him. Even since he became his disciple, put aside the fact that he was very diligent in cultivating, the most important part was he would make gruel for him every few days. It would be a different flavor every time. After finishing up the gruel that Su Qi passed to him, Lu Huan's eyes flashed as an idea appeared in his mind. Su Qi, follow me on an outing, Lu Huan told Su Qi. All right. Su Qi did not question Lu Huan about their destination and immediately agreed to it. You're not going to ask me where I'm bringing you? Lu Huan asked. I'll go wherever you plan on bringing me, Master. Even if it's a blade or fire mountain, I'll still go without so much as a frown, Su Qi answered solemnly. Haha, good, good. The biggest mistake I, Lu Huan, made is to take that unfilial disciple, Zhou Qi, as my disciple. However, the best decision I made is to take in such a good disciple like you. Lu Huan burst out laughing, incredibly satisfied with Su Qi's answer. Let's go. I'll bring you back to Mount Hill City. Lu Huan exited the door the instant he finished speaking. Mount Hill City. Su Qi's heart began to tremble when he heard Lu Huan's words. He could faintly guess Lu Huan's intention. He knew all this was closely related to Duan Lingtian's abrupt rise in the sect. However, after taking a deep breath, he still followed Lu Huan. Prior to this, the news of Duan Lingtian becoming Moon Illumination Sect's inner court elder by Li Hong's junior brother had already spread to the governor estate of Mount Hill City. It made Fang Wei, the governor of Mount Hill City, to be in shock for a long time before he regained his senses. He's actually taken by elder by Li Hong as AD disciple. Fang Wei was pleasantly surprised. He laughed in delight and tears streamed down his eyes. It was obvious it was tears of joy. As an outer court deacon sent out by the Moon Illumination Sect, Fang Wei was once a disciple of Moon Illumination Sect. Naturally, he knew who Elder Bai Li Hong was. He was someone even the sect leader of Moon Illumination Sect had to treat courteously. To the former him, Bai Li Hong was an insurmountable towering mountain whom he looked up to. When he first met Elder Bai Li Hong, he did not even dare to breathe loudly, afraid of offending him. However, he just found out his disciple Duan Lingtian had been acknowledged by Elder Bai Li Hong as his junior brother. How could he not be pleasantly surprised by this? He's made a breakthrough to the Saint Rudiment stage. After some time, Fang Wei received another news that was also sent out by the Moon Illumination Sect. The news stated that Duan Lingtian had already broken through to the Saint Rudiment stage. No wonder Elder Bai Li Hong acknowledged him as his junior brother. It seems like he has long seen through how extraordinarily talented Duan Lingtian is. To think I wanted to accept him as my disciple and address me as Master. Fang Wei muttered and mocked himself. However, he felt very happy for Duan Lingtian. With Elder Bai Li Hong supporting him, I don't think Lu Han would carelessly make a move against him anymore, and since Duan Lingtian is watching over Ling Yun and Shang Wei, I think they'll be safe as well, Fang Wei thought to himself before he sighed in relief. In the period of time that followed, Fang Hui's mood was extremely good. He felt the haze that had accumulated and surrounded his heart had dispersed substantially. Naturally, this kind of daze did not last very long. Fang Wei. A thunderous voice resonated from the sky above the city governor's estate of Mount Hill City, causing Fang Wei who was cultivating to turn glum. This voice was extremely familiar to him that he would never forget about it. Lu Huan. Fang Hui's face had turned completely grave as he took a deep breath. He did not expect Lu Huan, who had trampled on his master and who had not taken the initiative to look for him during all these years, would come calling now. However, he could faintly guess the reason for Lu Huan's visit was most likely related to Duan Lingtian. Perhaps, Duan Lingtian had succeeded in pressuring him. The moment Fang Wei thought of this, his face eased up a little as a satisfied smile appeared on his face. Lu Huan, you've begun to feel afraid, huh? When he walked out of the room door, he soared up into the sky. The moment he flew up into the sky, he discovered Lu Huan was not alone. There was another person with him. It was someone he was extremely familiar with. Su Qiu. When Fang Wei saw Su Qi hovering in the air next to Lu Huan, his heart skipped a beat. Su Qi was originally his disciple whom he was most fond of. He had a remarkable innate talent. His innate talent was the highest among all the young talents in Mount Hill City before Duan Lingtian showed up. He had spent a lot of blood and sweat on Su Qi. He did not expect Su Qi would use him as a stepping stone to Lu Huan. When he saw Su Qi hovering in the air, he realized he must have broken through to the Saint Rudiment stage. Otherwise, he would not be able to disregard the flight prohibiting formation in Mount Hill City. The flight prohibiting formation in Mount Hill City applied to all martial and Dao cultivators below the Saint Rudiment stage. Only those who were at the Saint Rudiment stage or above could fly and hover in the air. Chapter 15-14. Naturally, Duan Lingtian was unaware of the crisis Fang Wei was facing. He did not think that after rising to fame and becoming prominent, Lu Huan would resort to such a desperate measure and want to kill his teacher, Fang Wei. Currently, he was with Bai Li Hong and the group of people from the Moon Illumination sect. They were on their way over to the venue of the hunting assessment, in the sky above a dangerously steep mountain ridge. From afar, the sight of the lofty mountains and high ranges were so vast that it made people tongue-tied. The lofty mountains and high ranges will be the stage that all of you will enter soon. You can kill as many wild beasts as you like inside. However, it's best to leave a mark on the beasts that you killed so we can evaluate the results later. Zhang Huo, the vice-sect leader of Moon Illumination sect, said to the group of inner court disciples including Duan Lingtian. Duan Lingtian and the others nodded after hearing his words. It looks like I can't directly obliterate the wild beasts. After all, if I leave no trace behind, I won't be able to prove I killed the wild beasts. In fact, I won't be able to prove I killed any wild beast at all, Duan Lingtian thought to himself. During their journey here, he had roughly gone through the rules of the hunting assessment. For the hunting assessment, the points given would be different depending on the strength of the wild beast one killed. Everyone, take one of these jade tokens. If you encounter a mishap, just crush it. At that time, 3 inner court elders and I will immediately come and look for you. Zhang Huo lifted his hands and took out more than 10 jade tokens before passing it to Duan Lingtian and the others. However, there's something I have to warn you about. Once you crush the jade token, the hunting assessment will come to an end for you. Whoever crushes the jade token will have to immediately stop the assessment. The underlying meaning in Zhang Huo's words was simple. It was better not to crush the jade token unless one was in a dire situation. The group of inner court disciples was nodding their heads including He Zhang. Duan Lingtian, however, looked deep in thought as he looked at the jade token in his hand. Saint inscription. At this moment, Duan Lingtian discovered the saint inscription that was inscribed on the jade token in his hand. The saint inscription was special. It was neither offensive nor defensive. Personally, he had never encountered such a saint inscription before. Senior brother, did you inscribe the saint inscription on the jade tokens? Duan Lingtian asked Bai Li Hong through True Energy voice transmission. Although he did not recognize the saint inscription on the jade token, he could still see traces of Bai Li Hong's work in the striations on the jade token. When it comes to words, everyone has their own unique handwriting. For the saint inscriptions, it would be the striations. Yes, Bai Li Hong replied, Junior brother, don't look down on the saint inscription on this jade token. This saint inscription is a 3-star saint inscription. 3-star saint inscription. Duan Lingtian's heart leapt when he heard Bai Li Hong's words. Although these saint inscriptions are all 3-star saint inscriptions, they only function as a warning. The cost of making them is much lower. They can't even compare to 2-star saint inscriptions, Bai Li Hong added. Duan Lingtian finally understood the inscription better. However, there's still 3-star saint inscriptions even though the cost of making them is low. Even the territory of an imminent saint stage powerhouse wouldn't be able to nullify its warning. Naturally, it would be a different story if it's a saint stage powerhouse, Bai Li Hong continued saying. A warning that can overcome an imminent saint stage powerhouse's territory. Duan Lingtian was taken aback. He no longer dared to look down on the saint inscription on the jade token in his hand. Alright, all of you can go now. The 3 patrollers and I will take turns to patrol and help boost your morale. If you encounter any danger, just crush the jade token in your hands, and we'll come to your rescue immediately, Zhang Huo, the vice-sect leader of Moon Illumination Sect, said directly without beating around the bush. As for the rules of the hunting assessment, he had already informed the others of them during their journey here. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. As soon as Zhang Huo's words left his mouth, the group of inner court disciples descended from the sky one after another and entered the lush green lofty mountain range. All of them disappeared in just a blink of an eye like stones that were dropped into the sea without eliciting any waves. Duan Lingtian also descended from the sky and entered the lofty mountain range after he nodded at Bai Li Hong. After the group of inner court disciples, including Duan Lingtian, entered the lofty mountain range, Zhang Huo smiled at Bai Li Hong and asked with narrowed eyes, Elder Bai Li Hong, among all the participants of the hunting assessment, I have the highest expectation for junior brother Duan. I'm certain he'll most likely get first place. What do you think? Naturally, he had deliberately asked this question. However, he was struck dumb the instant he heard Bai Li Hong's reply. Not most likely but definitely. Junior brother will definitely get the first place in this hunting assessment, Bai Li Hong replied. Bai Li Hong's reply did not only make Zhang Huo dumbfounded, but even the 2 inner court elders were speechless. They felt that Bai Li Hong was too blind in his faith in Duan Lingtian. Although they had to admit Duan Lingtian's innate talent was indeed remarkable innate talent did not equal to being powerful. In their opinion, Duan Lingtian had made a breakthrough to the Saint Rudiment stage from the Perfection Mortal Shedding stage in such a short period of time, so his foundation should not be that stable yet. Moreover, they did not think he would be able to compare to the group of inner court disciples who participated this time. Naturally, this was only because they were unaware of Duan Lingtian's secret. If they knew that Duan Lingtian had a heaven-defying celestial supreme treasure, the 7 treasures exquisite pagoda, in his hand, they would not think this way at all. As soon as Duan Lingtian entered the lofty mountain range, he began to slaughter the wild beasts. Meanwhile, a crisis was happening in the city governor's estate on Mount Hill City. Up high in the sky, Feng Wei, the city governor of Mount Hill City, looked at Su Qi with a complicated expression. However, he did not say anything in the end. In his opinion, Su Qi's decision was not wrong. In this world where strength was revered, the reason one risked one's life to cultivate was to obtain a better life. Su Qi's survival instinct led him to become Lu Huan's disciple. Therefore, he truly did not blame him at all. It was not wrong for Su Qi to want to survive. However, when Feng Wei saw the murderous intent gleaming in Lu Huan's eyes, his heart turned cold immediately. He realized Lu Huan came with ill intent, he had come to kill him. It did not surprise him that Lu Huan wanted to kill him. His heart had turned cold because Lu Huan had brought Su Qi along. Lu Huan wanted to flaunt his prowess before he killed him. He intended to violently trample on his dignity in front of his disciple before killing him. Feng Wei, I must really thank you for finding me such an excellent disciple. Lu Huan chuckled as he looked at Feng Wei. Lu Huan, you don't have to keep up the farce anymore, didn't you come today to kill me? Duan Lingtian's existence is like a fishbone stuck in your throat, isn't it? Feng Wei said bluntly as he glanced at Lu Huan. Even if I, Feng Wei, die today, I don't have any regrets. Duan Lingtian is destined to become your nightmare for the rest of your life. Well, that's only if you manage to live long enough. Ha 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 ha. When Feng Wei reached the end of his sentence, he laughed out loud unreservedly and delightedly. Feng Wei, Lu Huan roared as his face turned grave. He did not expect Feng Wei would still dare to provoke him at this moment. It was obvious he did not fear death at all. Soon after, Lu Huan was hit with a pang of realization, and he regained his senses. He asked with a smirk, you intend to provoke me so you can die a fast and painless death? Lu Huan, your imagination is really as rich as before, Feng Wei replied nonchalantly. His face was calm as though he had already been enlightened and was not bothered by life or death. Humph. I must have guessed correctly, right? Since you want to die a fast and painless death, I definitely won't give you that. Lu Huan smirked. You'll definitely die today, although there's no way I'm going to grant you a fast and painless death. I'll make you watch as I flay you alive. Upon hearing Lu Huan's words, Feng Wei could not help but feel chills running up his spine even though he was no longer bothered about life or death. Lu Huan, my death is only going to be the beginning of your nightmare. Feng Wei laughed wantonly, delighted. This was the first time in a long time since he felt so happy when he encountered Lu Huan. All these years, he had been living like a zombie. Was it not because of the small shred of obsession he had stubbornly held onto in his heart? However, his disciple, Duan Lingtian, had risen to the top now. His existence was akin to a fishbone stuck in Lu Huan's throat. He suddenly felt as though everything he had endured and all the contributions he had made throughout the years were worthwhile, for he had been greatly rewarded. In his opinion, Duan Lingtian was the best gift God had given him. With Duan Lingtian around, did he need to be afraid that there would be no one to avenge him? Although the time he spent with Duan Lingtian was only less than a year, he knew very well what kind of person Duan Lingtian was. If he died, Duan Lingtian definitely would not let Lu Huan go so easily. You're looking for death. Lu Huan flew into a rage. True energy surged up from his body, and his robe began to flutter even though there was no wind. Lu Huan was brimming with arrogance. His robe fluttered again, and he was about to make his move. His face darkened as he raised his hand at lightning speed and thrust a palm out next to him. Bang! A loud explosion sounded, and a body could be seen flying back like an arrow leaving a bowstring. That person was none other than Su Qi. To be more precise, Su Qi had sent a needle into Lu Huan's body before he was sent flying by Lu Huan with a thrust of his palm. Su Qi. When Feng Wei saw how Lu Huan's body was trembling violently and how his entire face was green, he would have lived in vain all these years if he still could not figure out what was happening. As it turned out, Su Qi did not betray him. His heart still lay with him. Su Qi did not fear of death. He was only waiting for an opportunity to seek revenge for him. As soon as Feng Wei thought of this, he instantly flew out and caught Su Qi without any hesitation. Master, if only I have a few more months, I would have been able to help you kill Lu Huan. What a pity, what a pity, blood poured out of Su Qi's mouth as the light slowly vanished from his face. Unfilial disciple, when did you poison me? In the distance, Lu Huan roared as he questioned Su Qi. He discovered a great amount of poison suddenly appeared in every part of his body as soon as the needle pierced him. Chapter 15:15. At this moment, Lu Huan realized Su Qi had laid out his plan since a long time ago. The poison in his body did not just form in a day and a night. Lu Huan, the gruel I made is quite delicious, right? Haha, see cough, see cough. Su Qi, who was caught by Feng Wei, laughed loudly as Lu Huan stared at him coldly. As he laughed, his face turned even paler, and he began to cough up blood. At the same time, the vitality of Su Qi's body had also begun to disappear. It was apparent he was on the verge of death. Gruel, I see, looks like you've never sincerely regarded me as your master since the beginning. And to think that I actually treated you so nicely. In the end, you actually want to harm me. Unfilial disciple, unfilial disciple. Lu Huan finally pieced the puzzle together. His face had turned extremely green now. Sincerely. Upon hearing that, Su Qi mocked him emotionally. I, Su Qi, only recognize one person as my master in my entire life, and it isn't you, Lu Huan. How funny is it that you thought you could make me submit to you? If it wasn't for the fact that I wanted to nurse my grudge and take revenge for my master, I wouldn't pretend to be your disciple. However, it's unfortunate that I still fell a step short. If I have a few more months, I'm confident the poison would erupt and cause your death. Su Qi's face was filled with regret when he spoke to the end of his sentence. Lu Huan was a Paramount Saint Rudiment stage powerhouse. No ordinary poison would be able to kill him. Due to this reason, he had used a slow-acting poison he came across on the mortal continent. It was tasteless and colorless, completely unnoticeable. This kind of poison was not usually poisonous. It was only poisonous when combined with another drug. At that time, it would release its powerful poison. The needle that had pierced Lu Huan's body and taken him by surprise had been dipped with the drug to activate the release of the poison that had been lying dormant in his body. Master, quickly leave. Seize this chance and leave now while Lu Huan doesn't dare to move recklessly since he needs to focus on getting rid of the poison, Su Qi urged Feng Wei as he looked at him. He knew very well about the poison he had made. Currently, Lu Huan was only left with enough strength to protect himself. If he moved his body, the poison inside his body would definitely enter his organs. At that time, Even God would not be able to save him. It would take him at least 1 to 2 hours to suppress the poison in his body. 1 or 2 hours were more than enough time for his master, Feng Wei, to escape. Su Qi. Feng Hui's face was filled with emotions, and his eyes were brimming with tears. A man would not easily shed tears unless he was deeply hurt. The moment he discovered Su Qi did not really betray him, the sense of loss in his heart had vanished without a trace, leaving only happiness behind when he realized his judgment had been correct after all. This disciple who had been by his side the longest still regarded him as his only master. Master, go now, Su Qi urged. He knew now was not the time to get sentimental. Isn't he poisoned? I'll kill him immediately. Feng Wei did not intend to leave. His eyes flashed coldly as he glared at Lu Huan, who was currently focused on expelling the poison from his body. Master, although he doesn't dare to move his body recklessly, he still has enough strength to protect himself. Go. Go now. Su Qi kept urging him. He was stirred up, and he spat out another few mouthfuls of blood, causing his injuries to worsen. All right, I'll go. Although he was unwilling, Feng Wei knew Su Qi would not deceive him. He clenched his teeth, preparing to bring Su Qi along with him. However, right at this moment, ha 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 ha, a burst of vigorous laughter resonated in the air in the surroundings. Whether it was Feng Wei or Su Qi, horror dawned on both of them when they heard the laughter. In the distance, Lu Huan was still hovering in the air as he laughed loudly. His face did not even have a hint of green anymore. In fact, Lu Huan appeared to be brimming with spirit as he hovered in the air. How did that look like someone who had just been poisoned? Impossible, impossible. Upon seeing this, Su Qi's body began to tremble violently as he kept shaking his head. His face was filled with disbelief and shock. It was apparent he did not expect this at all. Nothing's impossible, Lu Huan smirked. I'm originally a saint refinement master who focuses on refining medicine. Despite the fact that I've stopped for many years, I've swallowed the blood and flesh of the 1,000 poison beast when I was young. Ever since then, my resistance to poison has always been great, even though I'm not immune to all poison. The poison you fed me is indeed remarkable, and it's even undetectable. Unfortunately, it doesn't pose much of a threat to me. Lu Huan's every word seemed to hit Su Qi directly in his soul. It caused his face to turn even paler, and a hint of despair could be seen in his eyes. Since both of you master and disciple are so dedicated to each other, I'll send you both to hell together. As Lu Huan's gaze turned cold, his body moved. It seemed as though he had turned into a hurricane before Feng Wei and Su Qi's eyes. Master, I still want to be your disciple if there's a next life. Su Qi shouted loudly before he charged at Lu Huan with the last of his strength. He wanted to use the last of his energy to protect his master. He would go to his grave without any regrets. You're just like a mantis trying to block a chariot. Lu Huan smirked. With a lift of his hand, vast rolling energy caused Su Qi to erupt into a bloody mist that covered the entire sky. The bloody mist drifted all over the place. Not even a drop of blood touched Lu Huan, but some landed on Feng Hui's face. Feng Hui's heart was as cold as ice when the smell of blood wafted to him. Even his soul had begun to tremble violently. Su Qi, Su Qi. Lu Huan, die, Feng Wei shouted without any warning. The true energy in his qi surged out unreservedly. It was as though he had decided to fight Lu Huan until the end. However, just the gigantic saber Lu Huan consolidated from his true energy consolidated weapon technique was more than enough to block Feng Hui's menacing attack. Feng Wei, perhaps you were able to fight me when we were young, but right now, you're no different from an ant in my eyes. Lu Huan said domineeringly as he glared at Feng Wei. That's right, my strength can't compare to yours, however, the disciples I accepted are superior to yours. Feng Wei laughed again even though he was on the verge of death as a figure flashed in his mind. It was a young man who was always dressed in purple. That young man was his hope. Duan Ling Tian, Feng Wei, I told you earlier that I won't let you die a fast and painless death, I'll torture you until your last breath. Lu Huan's gaze turned even colder when he heard Feng Hui's words. He stalked toward Feng Wei like a hunter hunting his prey at a speed that was neither hurried nor slow. Every time he took a step, it was as though a gigantic hammer is hitting Feng Hui's chest. Suddenly, Lu Huan raised a hand and charged at Feng Wei as fast as lightning. At this critical moment, a sharp sword ray suddenly pierced through the sky and swept past the space between Lu Huan and Feng Wei. Lu Huan, who was taken by surprise, instantly withdrew his hand. Who's that? The moment Lu Huan noticed the threat from the sword ray, horror dawned on his face. Ha ha, Elder Lu Huan, it seems like it has been quite some years since we last met, right? A burst of laughter rang in the sky, followed by the appearance of a middle-aged man with a strong build. The middle-aged man wore flowing gray clothes, and he held a sword in his hand. Frowning, Lu Huan studied the middle-aged man for a moment before asking in a deep voice, "You're Wang Dao. Looks like you still remember me, Elder Lu Huan." Wang Dao smiled. Wang Dao, I can't believe that after so many years of not seeing each other, you've also made a breakthrough to the Paramount Saint Rudiment stage. However, do you think you alone will be able to stop me?" Lu Huan snorted with disdain. Lu Huan remembered the person standing before him. It was none other than an inner court deacon in the Moon Illumination sect. However, it did not cross his mind that they would meet at this place. Just the fact that Wang Dao was able to pierce through his 100-meter radius territory without alerting him was enough for him to guess the level of his cultivation base. There was no doubt he was also at the Paramount Saint Rudiment stage. Even so, he did not fear Wang Dao. He did not fear a martial cultivator who had just broken through to the Paramount Saint Rudiment stage recently. Well then, I guess we'll have to see before we know if I can stop you or not. Wang Dao smiled nonchalantly. His face was so calm as though he did not find Lu Huan worthy at all. Deacon Wang. At this moment, Fang Wei finally regained his senses. He was shocked when he saw the silhouette with a strong build. He did not expect this person would appear at such a moment. It was obvious he was trying to protect him. Wang Dao was the youngest inner court deacon in the history of Moon Illumination sect. Apart from that, he was also a sword cultivator. However, due to his eccentric and unsociable temperament, he rarely interacted with the others, so his fame was not widespread. Based on Lu Huan's words, it seemed like Deacon Wang had already become a Paramount Saint Rudiment stage powerhouse. Good, very good. Upon hearing Wang Dao's words, Lu Huan was so enraged that he laughed instead. Wang Dao, I want to know why you are protecting him. As far as I know, there's no relationship between you and him, right? Elder Lu Huan, there's no need for you know of my intention. I'm protecting him because I was asked to by someone, Wang Dao replied nonchalantly. The person who can make you protect him is Elder Bai Li. The moment Lu Huan thought of this, horror dawned on his face. A hint of dread began to surface in his eyes. However, Wang Ba did not respond to him. He merely stared at him quietly as though he was waiting for him to make the first move. Lu Huan's expression changed before he finally clenched his teeth and decided to leave. However, before he left, he threatened, Wang Dao, there's enmity between you and me now. He decided to leave after thinking about it thoroughly. He was afraid his visit here to kill Fang Wei would spread. Due to this reason, he even used his true energy consolidated territory to envelop a radius of 100 meters to conceal himself so that nobody would notice him. This was because he knew if anyone witnessed him killing Fang Wei, it would enrage Elder Bai Li. Elder Bai Li might not care about Fang Hui's death, but he definitely cared about Duan Lingtian's joy and anger. He had nothing to fear if nobody knew he was the one who killed Fang Wei. Even if Duan Lingtian suspected him, he was not worried about Elder Bai Li making a move if there was no concrete proof. Chapter 15-16. However, Wang Dao's appearance left him no choice but to give up. It was apparent Wang Dao was sent by Bai Li Hong to protect Fang Wei, the city governor of Mount Hill City. Although he was confident he could defeat Wang Dao, he was not confident he could kill him. After all, both of them were at the Paramount Saint Rudiment stage. Unless there was a great disparity in their strength, he really could not say he had the confidence to kill him. Moreover, even if he was confident he could kill Wang Dao, Bai Li Hong would definitely suspect him when he returned and found out that Fang Wei was dead. Not many people in the Moon Illumination sect's surrounding districts could kill Wang Dao. It was not hard to figure out it was him. Killing Wang Dao was completely different from killing Fang Wei. Anybody above the Master Saint Rudiment stage would be able to kill Fang Wei. Thank you, Deacon Wang. Seeing how quickly Lu Huan left, Fang Wei sighed in relief before he quickly expressed his gratitude to Wang Dao. There's no need to thank me. I was only asked to do this by someone, Wang Dao replied indifferently before he left. Naturally, he did not really leave. He had concealed himself to protect Fang Wei in the dark. On the other hand, after Lu Huan had left, he became more furious the more he thought about it. FCK, that old man Bai Li Hong is such a busybody. At this moment, a sense of helplessness rose in his heart. It was as though every step he made was already accurately predicted by Bai Li Hong. It caused him to feel extremely aggrieved. I hope the Mountainshade Black Market's people would seize this chance during the hunting assessment and kill Duan Lingtian in one fell swoop. Once Duan Lingtian is dead, Bai Li Hong will no longer be against me in the future, Lu Huan thought to himself. Apart from that, from now on, the disciples that I, Lu Huan, accept have to swear by the lightning penalty oath that they'll never betray me. If they refuse to take the oath, I won't accept them as disciples no matter how high their innate talent is. Upon remembering Su Qi and Zhou Qi whom he had killed, Lu Huan felt a wave of irritation. He really felt he was going through a patch of bad luck. The two disciples he accepted had betrayed him. Due to this reason, he had made up his mind. Whoever wanted to become his disciple would have to swear on the lightning penalty oath first. When Lu Huan gloomily returned to the Moon Illumination sect, Duan Lingtian had already killed many wild beasts in that lofty mountain range. Although he had killed many wild beasts, his robe was still clean and nice. It was as though he was having an easy time killing the wild beasts. In fact, it really was not difficult for him at all. Casting aside the fact that he could defeat an enemy with a higher cultivation base with his cultivation base at the Mastery Saint Rudiment stage alone, there were no other wild beasts that could match up to him in regard to cultivation base in the lofty mountain range. I think there are not a lot of Mastery Saint Rudiment stage wild beasts here, Duan Lingtian thought to himself. Throughout the journey, he had already killed several dozens of wild beasts at the intermediate Saint Rudiment stage. The wild beasts he had killed were at the most at the early Saint Rudiment stage. There were about several hundreds of them. Perhaps God had heard Duan Lingtian's inner thought, for when he continued to walk for a while, an ear-deafening roar resonated in the air. It was as loud as a clap of thunder. Duan Lingtian felt as though his eardrums were on the verge of bursting. This is a Mastery Saint Rudiment stage wild beast. The moment Duan Lingtian heard the impactful roar, his heart jolted. Soon after, he saw a gigantic beast the size of a tiny mountain charging toward him. As it charged toward him, the ground trembled in its wake, and the trees fell one by one. It left its gigantic footprints in its wake as well. Every footprint was like a huge pit. What a timing! In the face of this menacing and furious Mastery Saint Rudiment stage wild beast, Duan Lingtian did not feel afraid. Instead, he charged ahead. At this moment, vast true energy surged out of Duan Lingtian's body and transformed into a huge hammer in the sky in just a blink of an eye. Like a meteorite crashing down, it crashed down violently at the Mastery Saint Rudiment stage wild beast that resembled a gorilla. Roar! In the face of the gigantic hammer that was consolidated by Duan Lingtian using the true energy consolidated weapon, the Mastery Saint Rudiment stage wild beast opened its bloody mouth and roared loudly. The horrifying sound formed a sound wave attack immediately. There were visible ripples in the air. As the sound waves rolled out, Duan Lingtian's gigantic hammer that was consolidated using the true energy consolidated weapon seemed to have smashed into a bed of cotton. In the end, it was crushed. What a powerful sound wave attack! Upon seeing this scene, Duan Lingtian was astonished. He did not expect the Mastery Saint Rudiment stage wild beast's roar would be able to shatter his true energy consolidated weapon. In fact, the gigantic hammer that was consolidated by his true energy consolidated weapon could actually kill an intermediate Saint Rudiment stage wild beast with just a smash. What a good fellow! I didn't think you'll be so powerful. In that case, I'll accompany you for a game then. In the face of the Mastery Saint Rudiment stage wild beast's power, Duan Lingtian was not afraid. Instead, his eyes were gleaming brightly as he took out a heavy broadsword. It was none other than the Thousand-Mass Sword. Roar! At the same time, the wild beast began to roar again before raising both of its fists that were similar to gigantic stones and brought them down on Duan Lingtian. Wind howled thunderously in its wake. It was deafening. Good timing. In the face of the iron fists that were like gigantic cannonballs, Duan Lingtian laughed and raised the Thousand-Mass Sword in his hand before charging toward the wild beast in a manner that seemed as though he could hold up thousands of men. Gargantuan Taishan. Duan Lingtian seemed particularly excited as he shouted out the name of his next technique. The Thousand-Mass Sword in his hand suddenly crashed down like a collapsing mountain, smashing on the wild beast's iron fists. Bang! Bang! As two deafening explosions reverberated in the air, the Thousand-Mass Sword in Duan Lingtian's hand clashed with the wild beast's iron fists. The true energies clashed and raised violently opposing airwaves. The rolling airwaves set off a series of thunderous air detonation and a flurry of tyrannical hurricanes swept out, blowing the stone rubbles in the surroundings up in the air as the trees fell. Roar! The wild beast roared loudly and took a step back. A hint of terror could be seen in its red eyes that were as huge as a gong. Although wild beasts did not have the intelligence of a saint beast, it still possessed survival instinct after living in such a harsh environment. Duan Lingtian had blocked its fists with just one sword. At this moment, he had already regarded Duan Lingtian as a powerful enemy. When Duan Lingtian saw the terror in the wild beast's eyes, he thought it would retreat after being made aware of the overwhelming odds against it. However, a shocking scene took place. Boom, 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 comma. As a series of drum-like sound resonated in the air, the wild beast continued to beat its chest with its fists continuously in a frenzy. Its manner was similar to a gorilla, there was almost no difference at all. If one really had to pick out a difference, it would be the size of the wild beast was several times bigger than a gorilla. Don't tell me it has gone crazy. Just as Duan Lingtian thought the wild beast before him had gone crazy, a shocking scene took place. As the wild beast continued to beat its own chest, a red mist emitted out of the place where his heart was located. It shrouded it completely before it seeped into its core. The bloody red mist continued to expand until it covered the wild beast entirely. It was as though it was covered by a layer of blood-like energy. Bolts of lightning could be seen in the blood-like energy. What's this? Duan Lingtian was completely astounded by the scene before him. What the hell was this? Don't tell me that it went into berserk mode. At this moment, a light bulb came on in Duan Lingtian's mind. The idea appeared suddenly because he remembered a type of demon beast clan he had previously encountered. It was the berserk mongrel rodent clan. It was a clan that could go into berserk mode. Once it had entered berserk mode, its strength would be greatly amplified. Roar! The wild beast that was covered entirely in the blood-like energy suddenly seemed to have transformed into an invincible battle god at this moment. As it roared at Duan Lingtian, sound waves rolled out and continued to compress and explode in the air, setting off thunderously loud sounds. As expected, it has really become so much more powerful now. Even Duan Lingtian felt pain in his ears from this sound wave. It was apparent that it was on a completely different level from the one earlier. Duan Lingtian took a deep breath, he did not dare to hesitate. His true energy merged with the thousand-mass sword in his hand, and he instantly activated the two-star saint inscription, the thousand-mass saint inscription. Just as the wild beast swung its fists toward him again, he charged forward in a timely manner. Gargantuan Taishan. The same sword had become even more terrifying because of the thousand-mass saint inscription's energy. However, such a terrifying sword had actually been smacked away by the wild beast's iron fists. Moreover, it vibrated so much until the part where Duan Lingtian's thumb met his index finger tingled. A red mark could also faintly be seen as well. Although it did not draw blood, it was still enough to shock Duan Lingtian. His body was unlike those of ordinary people. Even the five-clawed divine dragon from the Dao Martial Saint Land's dragon clan that was at the same level as him could not compare to him in regard to the toughness of their bodies. However, the part where his thumb and index finger met had actually been hurt by the tremor. Roar! Duan Lingtian's broadsword was pushed away, and the wild beast's iron fists also shifted their directions. However, it missed its mark. Soon after, it regained its senses and swung his iron fists at Duan Lingtian again. It was as though he would not rest until he killed Duan Lingtian. I'm not going to play with you anymore. With a raise of his brow, Duan Lingtian's true energy surged out of his chi-si into his hands through the 99 saint veins. At the same time, he put away the thousand-mass sword and swung both his fists out directly at the wild beast's fists. If somebody else was here, he would definitely think Duan Lingtian had overestimated himself. He had been defeated by the wild beast that had gone berserk when he used his sword earlier. Now he actually dared to fight the wild beast with his bare hands. He really overestimated himself by a lot. However, what they did not know was Duan Lingtian's punch had activated his brute strength. His strength now was a level higher than the five-clawed divine dragon's brute strength. It swept out tyrannically together with his rolling true energy on his fists as it clashed against the wild beast's iron fists that were intertwined with the blood-like energy. Chapter 15-17. Bang! A loud explosion resonated in the air and shook the sky until ripples began to appear in the sky. Bang! Another earth-shattering explosion sounded. Even the birds several hundred meters outside the perimeter took flight in surprise, flying in all directions. At the same time, two blood mist appeared in the air, creating the illusion of a bloody rain. As it turned out, it was the iron fists of the wild beast that had gone into berserk mode. Its fists had shattered and exploded into bloody mist from Duan Lingtian's fists. Roar rrrr. The wild beast's iron fists were now gone. With a shrill cry of terror, its survival instinct urged him to turn around and escape. At this moment, Duan Ling Tian, this tiny little thing, was undoubtedly a devil in its mind. All it wanted right now was to get as far away from Duan Ling Tian as it possibly could. This feeling of going head to head with something hard is indeed great. It feels so awesome. Duan Ling Tian chuckled delightedly as he looked at his fists that seemed like it covered in a pair of golden gloves. Earlier, at that moment when his fists were about to clash with the wild beast's iron fists, he had cast the golden shirt he had cultivated to the highest stage, the impeccable stage, in a timely manner. It turned his brute strength even more powerful than it already was. It was precisely because of this that he was able to smash the iron fists of the Mastery Saint Rudiment stage wild beast who had gone into berserk mode until they exploded. This was a victory for him. In this hunting assessment, the points of a Mastery Saint Rudiment stage wild beast should be higher than the points of an intermediate Saint Rudiment stage wild beast. Duan Ling Tian was certain of this. With a raise of his hand, he took out his sun shooting bow at lightning speed and lifted another hand to shoot an arrow out. The true energy arrow that contained the penetration saint inscription easily pierced through the wild beast that was only focused on fleeing and killed it. Boom! The wild beast's gigantic body crashed onto the ground, and Duan Ling Tian ran up to it to leave his name on the wild beast's body to prove that he was the one who killed it. As long as he left his mark behind, he no longer needed to worry about a second person leaving their mark on it and falsely claiming it as his. This was because the marking that was first left on the body could be determined by the dryness of the blood mark. When Duan Ling Tian was writing his name on the wild beast, he was unaware that a black figure was hiding behind the branches and leaves of a big tree in the distance. His body seems to have, this figure was curvy, and one could see it was a woman with just a glance. Moreover, it was a woman with a great body. Currently, the woman's exposed autumn eyes were gleaming with excitement. I found it. I finally found it. Not only were her eyes gleaming in excitement, but even her heart was filled with excitement as well. It was as though Duan Ling Tian was an old acquaintance of hers. Soon after, the curvy and sexy woman who was completely covered in black clothing with just her autumn eyes exposed returned to her senses, and she muttered to herself, "He's Duan Ling Tian." A harmless-looking purple bird perched on her shoulder. Although the purple bird appeared quiet, its pair of eyes that was shining brightly as they looked at Duan Ling Tian seemed to indicate that was not the case. This woman was none other than Kai Mei, the quasi-4-star assassin from the Mountainshade Black Market. When Kai Mei calmed herself down, she discovered the unnoticeable aura from Duan Ling Tian and said confidently, "He must know her. He must know her. They must have a special relationship too. Otherwise, he wouldn't have her aura on him. Moreover, the aura is so strong as well." Meanwhile, her body flashed as she moved to hover in the sky in front of Duan Ling Tian. She observed him calmly as though trying to figure out what was so unique about him. "Who are you?" Naturally, Duan Ling Tian would not fail to notice such a strong presence. He immediately regained his senses as his expression turned grave. Hovering in the air, Kai Mei answered indifferently, "Kai Mei from the Mountainshade Black Market." If the other assassins from the Mountainshade Black Market saw this, they would be astounded. As far as they knew, Kai Mei would not beat around the bush nor expose herself when she made her move. In fact, almost all of the Mountainshade Black Market's assassins had sworn by the lightning penalty oath to not expose their identities. If the other assassins from Mountainshade Black Market saw how Kai Mei was not punished by the lightning penalty and struck by the 9-9 heavenly tribulation after she had exposed her identity, they would be even more shocked. This would mean Kai Mei had never taken the oath before. If she had not taken the oath, that meant she was not a true Mountainshade Black Market's assassin. However, Kai Mei was indeed a Mountainshade Black Market's assassin. There was only one possibility left: someone must have abused their authority and made her a Mountainshade Black Market's assassin without having to take the lightning penalty oath. Someone like that would have to have great authority in the Mountainshade Black Market. In the Mountainshade Black Market's branch in the 9 Sect Alliances district, only the leader of the Mountainshade Black Market's branch could use his authority to do such a thing. Mountainshade Black Market. Upon hearing this pleasant female voice, Duan Ling Tian's expression changed a little. However, he was not surprised. From the curvy body of the black-clothed person before him, it was not difficult for him to tell she was a sexy woman with a great body. When he first saw this woman, even he had the urge to rush forward to take off the veil on her face. It was not that he was a lusty man, but this was the first reaction being a man. The body of the woman before him was too perfect that it could arouse anyone. Moreover, it was on par with his two fiancés as well. Duan Lingtian's expression changed again when she revealed her identity. The mountain-shade black market actually sent another person after him again. Previously, he had learned from his senior brother, Bai Li Hong, that once the mountain-shade black market failed a mission, they would either cancel the mission or send an even more powerful assassin to continue the mission. In other words, this assassin before him must be even more powerful than the black-robed man from before. That black-robed man was one of top among people at the Paramount Saint Rudiment stage. If that person was not a devil cultivator, he would not have been able to kill him at all. And yet, at this moment, this woman who was even more powerful was standing before him. He could not help the wave of helplessness that washed over him. Although his strength had made a great leap forward, and his cultivation base had entered the Mastery Saint Rudiment stage, he could only defeat enemies with a higher cultivation base only if he used all of his techniques. That would make him on par with an ordinary martial or Dao cultivator at the Paramount Saint Rudiment stage. If he encountered someone who was as strong as the black-robed man from before and was not a devil cultivator, he would definitely not be a match for that person. Yet, this sexy woman with a young and pleasant voice was obviously even stronger than that black-robed man. How was he going to fight her? I can only hope she's a devil cultivator as well. Duan Lingtian prayed in his heart silently. He might be able to escape death if this was the case. At the same time, he took out the jade token and crushed it immediately. This jade token was given to him by Zhang Huo, the vice-sect leader of Moon Illumination sect. One could crush it during a dangerous moment to summon help. At that instant when Duan Lingtian crushed the jade token, a streak of light rose up into the air. However, before it could even soar up to the sky above the jungle of the lofty mountain range, it was snuffed out by an invisible force, rendering it useless. Swish! The moment Duan Lingtian saw this, his expression turned horrified. Glaring in shock at the black-clothed woman before him, he asked, "Why, you're a saint stage powerhouse?" He had heard from his senior brother Bai Li Hong that even eminent saint stage powerhouses would not be able to stop the warning from the jade token in his hand. "If I'm not a saint stage powerhouse, do you think they'll be able to block the warning of the 3-star saint inscription inscribed on the jade token?" The woman asked. A pleasant voice entered Duan Lingtian's ears as though it was magic. She doesn't seem to be a devil cultivator. Although he did not know how the woman before him made her move earlier, he was certain she was the culprit. If she did not personally make a move, then it had to be her territory. The Devilseal tablet in his spatial ring still did not have any reaction at all. If the Devilseal tablet had no reaction, this meant she was not a devil cultivator, and he would not be able to use it against her. "She's not a devil cultivator, not a devil cultivator, what should I do now?" At this moment, Duan Lingtian was burning with anxiety. However, he was not someone who would sit quietly and wait for death to come. He raised his hand, and he gripped the sun-shooting bow tightly, prepared to make his move. Oh! At this moment, Kai Mei gasped softly as she stared at Duan Lingtian's hands. "Your bow doesn't seem to be an ordinary saint weapon." When Kai Mei lifted her hand, Duan Lingtian felt his entire body being restrained by invisible energy. It left him with no space to move at all. He could not even move an inch. All he could do was watch as his sun-shooting bow was taken away by Kai Mei's hand. This material, Kai Mei's eyes brightened up immediately as she looked at Duan Lingtian and asked, "Where did you get this bow?" "I found it." After he discovered he was unable to get out of the invisible energy that was restraining him, he realized his life was in the hands of this black-clothed woman. Upon hearing her questioned, he immediately regained his senses. Currently, he realized something was not right. If she really was a mountain-shade black market's assassin, she would not have wasted so much time speaking nonsense with him. Moreover, she did not emit any killing intent since the beginning. Duan Lingtian was unaware that it was not only him. If the leader of the mountain-shade black market's branch in the 9 sect alliances, district saw Kai Mei acting like that, he would also be struck dumb, for she was completely different from the Kai Mei he knew. "What, do you think I'll covet your thing?" Kai Mei smiled faintly. With a raise of her hand, she loosened the restraint on Duan Lingtian and returned the sun-shooting bow to him. This made Duan Lingtian slightly confused. "Since you're a mountain-shade black market's assassin, aren't you here to kill me?" "I'm here to kill you." Kai Mei nodded. Upon hearing Kai Mei's words, Duan Lingtian's heart instantly nodded. He asked guardedly, "Then why aren't you making your move yet? With your strength, it should be easy for you to kill me." Chapter 15-18. When Kai Mei heard Duan Ling Tian's words, she replied at a speed that was neither hurried nor slow. Naturally, it's easy to kill you. However, I've taken an interest in you, don't worry. From now on, the Mountainshade Black Market will call off the mission to kill you. This made Duan Ling Tian feel a little confused. Could it be my charisma is actually so amazing that this woman has actually fallen for me? The moment Duan Ling Tian thought of this, chills ran down his spine. Although the woman had a great body, who knew what kind of face was under that veil? Maybe she was actually an ugly woman. However, Duan Ling Tian was instantly stunned in the next instant. This was because Kai Mei had suddenly taken off the veil and exposed her face. Black shiny hair cascaded over her shoulder like a waterfall while her autumn eyes were like two of the brightest stars in the night sky. Her jade-like nose was pointed, and her little mouth was red and plump. Her curves were perfect. All in all, she was an unparalleled beauty that could topple the nation. No flaws could be seen at all on this delicate face that seemed as though it had been exquisitely carved. Everything was perfect. When Duan Ling Tian saw Kai Mei's peerlessly beautiful face, he stood rooted to his spot, shocked. It was as though he had just seen a ghost. Why you. When Kai Mei saw the astonishment on Duan Ling Tian's face, a knowing look flashed in the depth of her eyes. It seemed like things were just as she had suspected. He was indeed closely related to the person she was looking for. Moreover, it seemed like their relationship ran deep as well. Otherwise, he would not have such a rich aura of that person on him. At this moment, there was no one who could understand Duan Ling Tian's feelings. Duan Ling Tian's feelings were in a turmoil, and he could not calm down for a very long time. When he looked at Kai Mei, hints of doubt would flash in his eyes for one moment, and hints of nostalgia would flash in the next moment before it was replaced by tenderness. His gaze turned even more complicated as time went by. Duan Ling Tian was in this state because he was familiar with Kai Mei's face. Naturally, although the face in his memory was almost identical to the face before him, it had the innocence of a girl next door. That was right. Kai Mei's exquisite and peerlessly beautiful face that could topple a nation was identical to one of Duan Ling Tian's fiancées, Ka. Their faces were identical. There was no difference at all. However, regardless of how identical they looked, Duan Ling Tian did not mistake the person before him as Ka. This was because the Kai Mei's temperament was completely different from Ka's. Ka had a soft and gentle temperament, but Kai Mei had an icy and unapproachable temperament. At this moment, Duan Ling Tian was overcome with the thought that this person might be Ka's twin. However, he instantly dismissed this thought. It was impossible. Kai Mei was a Mountainshade Black Market's assassin in the Dao Martial Saint land. She was a Saint stage powerhouse. Ka was born in a distant land on the mortal continent. Just like him, she was from Fresh Breeze Town. It was impossible for her to have any relations to Kai Mei. Moreover, when he first met Ka, she was about to prostitute herself so she could bury her late mother. He did not hear about Ka's mother not being her biological mother. Just tell me, what do you want to do? Duan Ling Tian asked in his deep voice as he suppressed the thousands of questions in his heart. The Kai Mei before him was a Mountainshade Black Market's assassin. Based on her words, it seemed like not only would she not kill him, but she was also going to make the Mountainshade Black Market call of the mission. This made him feel as though something was not right. By right, he had nothing to do with her, so she did not have to do this at all. Something strange must be going on if something did not feel right to him. Duan Ling Tian always believed in this. What, you're a man, don't tell me you're afraid of a little girl like me. Kai Mei asked with a smile, a perfect curve appearing at the corner of her mouth. Kai Mei's exquisite and peerlessly beautiful face and her wicked body were more than enough to arouse the desire deep in the hearts of any man. However, Duan felt no desire at this moment. He only felt a sense of vigilance instead. I believe you must have a reason for not killing me and having the Mountainshade Black Market call off the mission to kill me, Duan Ling Tian replied. A reason? Of course, I have a reason. Kai Mei replied indifferently, prior to meeting you, nobody has ever survived. If I, Kai Mei, make my move, you're the first. Should I feel proud of that? Duan Ling Tian asked as he laughed mockingly. Tell me, what kind of reason is not only stopping you from killing me but helping me as well? Reason? Well, will it work if I say I've fallen for you? Kai Mei chuckled. Kai Mei's words made Duan Ling Tian's heart turned cold immediately. Who knew if this woman before him who looked younger than him was an old demon hag who was hundreds of years old? Who knew if her age was that of his grandmother's grandmother? Naturally, Kai Mei did not know what was going through Duan Lingtian's mind. Otherwise, she would have slapped him to death. I believe that we'll meet each other again. Kai Mei stared at Duan Lingtian deeply before she left and disappeared before his eyes without waiting for him to come to his senses. Who's she exactly? Duan Lingtian's heart was filled with confusion. A mountain-shade black market's assassin who looks identical to Ka. She came here to kill me but suddenly changed her mind. Moreover, she's even going to help me by getting the mountain-shade black market to call off the mission. Duan Lingtian's train of thought gradually became more clear. Naturally, he was not so conceited to think that she did not kill him because she really fell for him. As a mountain-shade black market's assassin, she was originally a cold-blooded person. It was impossible for her to abort her mission due to such an absurd reason. No matter how much I think about it, the only plausible reason is Ka. However, even if Ka is really the reason, how did she find out about the relationship between Kerr and I? Don't tell me she has been concealing herself all this time while I was with Ka. If she has been concealing herself, she should have been protecting Ka. Why is she following me? Besides, there's no reason for her to reveal herself even if she's following me, right? No matter how much Duan Lingtian thought about it, he could not come up with an answer at all. I guess I can only ask Ka when I return, but Ka had long told me her story, and she has never mentioned she still has a living relative in this world. Since he could not figure it out, Duan Lingtian no longer thought about it. Instead, he shifted his focus back to the hunting assessment once again. As time continued to pass by, the hunting assessment also finally came to an end. Naturally, Duan Lingtian had obtained first place. How did Duan Lingtian obtain so many points? His points are 10 times more than the person who came in second place. Even if he managed to kill all the wild beasts he encountered, it would still be impossible for him to score so highly, right? Duan Lingtian had come in first in the hunting assessment. The inner court disciples did not have any objections since they had long heard about how monstrous Duan Lingtian was. However, his result made them feel suspicious for they felt he must have cheated. Faced with the inner court disciples' doubts, Duan Lingtian remained calm. He was not bothered by it at all. At this moment, an inner court elder who had been looking at Duan Lingtian with a complicated gaze heard the whispering of the inner court disciples. He could not help but chime in. The reason Duan Lingtian's points are so high is due to the fact that he killed the berserk great ape, a wild beast that's at the Mastery Saint rudiment stage. The moment he opened his mouth, the other inner court elders smiled wryly. It was apparent they all knew about this. Bai Lihong was calm. He did not appear to be surprised by this. Zhang Huo, the vice-sect leader of Moon Illumination sect, looked at Duan Lingtian with a complicated gaze. His expression changed again and again, but nobody knew what was in his mind. Berserk great ape. When the inner court elder spoke up, the group of inner court disciples was completely shocked. They were not unfamiliar with the berserk great ape. It was a very famous Mastery Saint rudiment stage wild beast. Once it went berserk, its strength would surpass the other wild beasts at the same stage. It even carried the title killing machine among the Mastery Saint rudiment stage wild beasts. However, such a wild beast had been killed by Duan Lingtian. Swish, 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 comma. At once, the group of inner court disciples shifted their eyes to Duan Lingtian one after another. Their eyes were filled with hints of astonishment and disbelief. Regardless, Duan Lingtian was now in the limelight. Due to the fact the berserk great ape was killed after it has gone berserk, the points of killing it are multiplied by 2 as well. This is precisely why there's such a huge difference between Duan Lingtian's points and all of your points. I'm sure all of you have an idea just how many points a Mastery Saint rudiment stage wild beast would grant after being doubled, right? The other inner court elder said again. At this moment, although the group of inner court disciples had a very complicated feeling, they no longer said anything anymore. Just like this, the hunting assessment the Moon Illumination sect held annually had ended, and Duan Lingtian had also successfully obtained the honor of being in the first place. He also obtained the spot to enter the sect's storehouse. Although many of the items inside the sect's storehouse were covered in dust, and most people would find it difficult to distinguish them, one had to admit there were many treasures in there. Naturally, the majority of them were merely junk. Even so, Duan Lingtian still looked forward to the sect's storehouse. He had a feeling he would be able to obtain something valuable in there. During the journey back to the Moon Illumination sect, the group of inner court disciples looked at Duan Lingtian with a complicated expression. Among all of them, the earliest one to enter the Moon Illumination sect entered 5 years ago. However, nobody was able to defeat Duan Lingtian, who had just entered the sect this year. It made them feel uncomfortable in their hearts. Uncle, I really hope that you've dismissed the thought of going against him. Otherwise, you'll only be digging your own grave. He Zhang was also looking at Duan Lingtian. His gaze was even more complicated than the other inner court disciples. It could be said that he had been watching Duan Lingtian grow day by day. The speed of Duan Lingtian's growth was so fast that he could only see the dust left behind by him. The 4 great Moon Illumination sect's high-ranking officials, including Bai Li Hong and Zhang Huo, was unaware that at this moment, a black figure was following them at a speed that was neither hurried nor slow. It was a sexy and curvy woman. A purple bird perched on her shoulder, dozing off. Chapter 15-19. The woman following the people from Moon Illumination sect was none other than Kai Mei, the Mountainshade Black Market's assassin. Currently, she was looking at Duan Lingtian as she muttered to herself, "I'm sure we'll be able to find her if we follow him. I'll return for a while. Help me to keep an eye on him, all right? Don't let him leave your sight," Kai Mei said to the purple bird on her shoulder. "All right, sister," the purple bird replied a little listlessly, "how boring. And here I thought I'll be able to crack my knuckles a little." "If you want to crack your knuckles, you can just play some games with them, right? However, make sure you don't touch those who are close to him," Kai Mei replied as she looked at the people in front. Upon hearing that, the purple bird turned energetic and was in high spirit immediately. It urged Kai Mei, "Sister, hurry up and go back." At this moment, the purple bird looked completely different from the purple bird before. Kai Mei shook her head and did not say anything before she vanished in the sky without a trace. In just a blink of an eye, she had already flown to the far distance to where the nest of the Mountainshade Black Market was located. After Kai Mei left, the purple bird's eyes gleamed brilliantly. Without warning, it spread out its wings and shot toward the Moon Illumination sect's people like a streak of purple lightning. Whoosh! An ear-piercing sound of wind whistling sounded, causing the people from Moon Illumination sect to be on guard. What's that? At this instant, the people could only see a gigantic figure hanging above them like a dark cloud hanging over a city, blocking the sunlight that was shining down on them. When they raised their heads, they were shocked to see a large purple bird hovering in the sky, glaring at them with a piercing gaze. When that giant purple bird spread its wings, it was like the clouds in the sky. It emitted a strong pressure. Bai Li Hong, Zhang Huo, and the other 2 Moon Illumination sect's inner court elders were on guard, prepared for any eventualities. All of the inner court disciples, including Duan Lingtian, were shocked and terrified. Suddenly, a voice entered Duan Lingtian's ears. "Boy, is there anybody in your group that you hate?" This was the content of the voice transmission. "Who are you?" When Duan Lingtian heard the feminine voice, he glanced left and right but could not find where the true energy voice transmission came from. "You're really stupid. Why don't you raise your head if you want to see who I am?" The voice resonated again and took Duan Lingtian by surprise. He only regained his senses after a while. "Why, you're a huge bird." "What huge or small bird? How unpleasant. Listen, I'm a super saint beast. I'm the Purple Cloud Thunder Rock. Not just a huge bird or something." The gigantic purple bird transmitted its voice once again. Its voice was filled with disdain. The super saint beast, Purple Cloud Thunder Rock. The moment Duan Lingtian heard the gigantic purple bird's words, he was slightly shocked, and then he began to study it earnestly. He noticed it was similar to a rock, but there was also a great difference. It had a golden horn on its head. "If she didn't tell me, I wouldn't know it's actually a she," Duan Lingtian thought to himself. "Boy, I'm asking you a question, is there anyone you hate among this group of people?" The Purple Cloud Thunder Rock asked again. Although he had no idea why the Purple Cloud Thunder Rock would ask such a question, Duan Lingtian instinctively looked at Zhang Huo, the vice sect leader of Moon Illumination sect, right away. He had no idea why. Maybe it was because he could sense Zhang Huo's hostility toward him, and he felt annoyed by it. "You must be a saint beast, right? I wonder if there's a reason you're obstructing our way?" Zhang Huo asked as he took a step forward and cupped his hands together in front of his chest. Although he did not recognize the gigantic purple bird at all, the aura it was emitting faintly was enough to make him feel pressured. The fact that this beast could make him, an imminent saint stage powerhouse, feel pressured meant that it had to be at the saint stage. He could tell the gigantic purple bird was a saint beast because there was a huge difference between the aura of a saint beast and a wild beast. It was obvious the gigantic purple bird was not one of the mindless wild beasts. This could be seen in its pair of keen eyes. The gigantic purple bird, otherwise known as the purple cloud thunder rock, spoke like a human. It answered lazily, "I'm bored, so why can't I?" The corner of Zhang Huo's mouth twitched violently for a moment. What kind of reason was this? Bai Li Hong, the two other inner court elders, and all of the inner court disciples, excluding Duan Lingtian, were stunned. Although Duan Lingtian was not stunned, the corner of his mouth also twitched violently the moment he heard the purple cloud thunder rock's words. When he saw how the purple cloud thunder rock was glaring at Zhang Huo with killing intent, Duan Lingtian knew Zhang Huo was doomed. At this moment, he could not help but think to himself, did I bring trouble to Zhang Huo? Before Duan Lingtian managed to finish his thought, the purple cloud thunder rock's wings suddenly moved. Whoosh, whoosh, two waves of ripples spread out from its wings. In the wake of the purple ripples, the sky seemed to have stopped in time. Meanwhile, apart from Zhang Huo, the people from Moon Illumination sect were forced to retreat by the impact from the purple ripples. In just a blink of an eye, they had retreated to more than 100 meters away. By the time they returned to their senses, only the purple cloud thunder rock and Zhang Huo's figures were left behind in the distance. Hovering in the air, the purple cloud thunder rock looked down at Zhang Huo and lazily said, "You'll accompany me to loosen my knuckles then." The moment Zhang Huo heard its words, his sight blackened for a moment, and he almost fainted on the spot. Previously, he had only suspected the purple cloud thunder rock before him was a saint beast that had entered the saint stage. However, he was 100% certain it was a saint stage saint beast after witnessing its technique. A saint stage saint beast actually wanted him to accompany it to loosen its knuckles. Would that not result in him having all his bones broken? Senior, I'm Zhang Huo, the vice sect leader of Moon Illumination sect. If I've ever offended you before, please do let me know, and I'll sincerely apologize to you, Zhang Huo said to the purple cloud thunder rock. He had a terrified expression on his face, and his voice had even begun to tremble. At this moment, he hoped the saint stage saint beast before him would let him go for the sake of the Moon Illumination sect. However, the purple cloud thunder rock's reply caused the color to drain from his face even more. Moon Illumination sect, I've never heard of it before. As for you, you've also never offended me before. I just wanted to find you to help me loosen my knuckles. Don't worry, I won't kill you, the purple cloud thunder rock said nonchalantly as it shook its head. The moment its words left its mouth, it seemed to have transformed into a purple hurricane and swept out to where Zhang Huo was at. In the distance, Duan Lingtian and the group of inner court disciples from the Moon Illumination sect could only see a purple hurricane sweeping out. In the next instant, Zhang Huo was gone as though he had disappeared. Naturally, Duan Lingtian knew Zhang Huo did not really disappear. They just could not see properly because the speed was too fast. Saint stage saint beast. At this moment, whether it was Bai Li Hong or the other two inner court elders, all of them only had a wry smile on their faces. They could vaguely see the rapid moving figures in front. They could not bear to watch Zhang Huo's pitiful sight at all. Naturally, they did not dare to go and help as well. If the saint stage saint beast became unhappy and wanted to find them to loosen its knuckles too, would they not die in vain? Currently, even Bai Li Hong counted himself lucky that the saint stage saint beast chose Zhang Huo and not him. Bai Li Hong thought the saint stage saint beast had randomly picked Zhang Huo. If he knew the reason it picked Zhang Huo to accompany it to loosen its knuckles was because of Duan Lingtian, it made one wonder what kind of expression he would make. Saint stage saint beast. Duan Lingtian's face turned glum. He also realized the purple cloud thunder rock was a saint stage saint beast. The moment he recalled how the saint stage saint beast transmitted its voice to him, he could not help but be filled with confusion. Why would this fellow ask him who he hated? Not only that, but he only glanced at Zhang Huo instinctively, and in the next moment, Zhang Huo was doomed. It seemed as though the purple cloud thunder rock was helping him to vent his anger. He was sure he had never met this purple cloud thunder rock before. Not only that, but this was also the first time in his life he had ever laid eyes on a saint stage saint beast. What kind of luck do I have today? In just a day, I actually encountered two saint stage powerhouses. I wonder if there's any connection between the two. Duan Lingtian had no idea why, but when he thought until the end, he actually linked the purple cloud thunder rock and Kai Mei, that mountain shade black market's assassin, together. How useless. Fine, I won't play with you anymore. I think it's better if I return to the Moon Illumination sect with you and find the strongest person in the sect to play with. I'm sure it'll be even more interesting. Soon after, Duan Lingtian and the others heard the Purple Cloud Thunder Rock's voice resonating in the air. In the next moment, the Purple Cloud Thunder Rock and Zhang Huo appeared simultaneously. The Purple Cloud Thunder Rock appeared to be in high spirit and looked the same as before. However, Zhang Huo seemed as though he had just been tortured. Apart from the green and red marks all over his body, his robe was also badly torn. Moreover, he was currently hovering in the air with the last of his strength. As he staggered, it seemed as though he would fall at any time. Although Zhang Huo appeared wretched, he still sighed in relief. Master. At this moment, He Zhang ran up to him in a timely manner. When he looked at the Purple Cloud Thunder Rock, a hint of dread could be seen in his eyes as well. Let's go. I'll follow you back to the Moon Illumination sect. The people from Moon Illumination sect turned pale after hearing the Purple Cloud Thunder Rock's words. Its body trembled slightly before it transformed into a purple-clad young girl who looked about 16 to 17 years old. The fair and delicate face that still contained a hint of childishness looked as though it would break with just a snap of a finger. She was a beautiful girl indeed. However, nobody was focused on her look after she had transformed into a human. Instead, they were all taken aback by her domineering manner. She had suddenly appeared out of nowhere and said she wanted someone to accompany her to loosen her knuckles. Then, Zhang Huo, the vice-sect leader of Moon Illumination sect, was unluckily chosen by her. If Duan Lingtian did not witness this with his own eyes, he would find it difficult to relate the purple-clad young girl in front of him to the Purple Cloud Thunder Rock. Chapter 1520. When the group of people from Moon Illumination sect looked at the harmless-looking purple-clad young girl, all of them a hint of dread on their faces. Nobody dared to approach her at all. I wonder how we should address you, young miss. Bai Li Hong took a deep breath before he looked at the purple-clad young girl and forced a smile on his face. Zer, the purple-clad young girl replied. At the same time, she looked at Duan Lingtian and winked, rendering Duan Lingtian speechless. I don't really know you that well, right? At this moment, Duan Lingtian was even more curious about the purple-clad young girl's identity. I wonder if she's related to that Kai Mei. If not, all of these are just too coincidental, Duan Lingtian thought to himself. Why did you help me earlier? Duan Lingtian could not help but ask the purple-clad young girl through voice transmission. Well, you're the only one wearing purple among these people. The purple-clad young girl's reply made him speechless. That's all. Just because of this, you helped me vent my anger. Duan Lingtian really did not know what else to say. Initially, he had thought this purple-clad young girl was related to Kai Mei since the moment she appeared, she had taken the initiative to speak to him. However, he just found out it was because he was wearing purple. Among the people from Moon Illumination sect, he was indeed the only one wearing purple. He had no other clothing apart from his purple clothes. Whether it was in his past life or now, he only had eyes for the color purple. So it's actually young Miss Sir. Bai Li Hong did not notice the young girl winking at Duan Lingtian since he did not dare to look her in the eyes. She was a saint beast after all. Young Miss Sir. At this moment, the other two inner court elders of Moon Illumination sect also politely bowed at the young girl. They were afraid they would offend her if they were not courteous enough. Seeing how the three inner court elders were bowing toward the young girl, the group of inner court disciples, naturally, did not dare to slack. Even Zhang Huo, who had been beaten into a pulp by that young girl, also led He Zhang to bow at her after he had slightly recovered. Although he was humiliated, he did not harbor any enmity in his heart at all. What a joke, she was a saint beast after all. Even if he had already entered the saint stage, he would still not be a match for her, let alone he was only at the imminent saint stage now. If she dared to create a scene in the Moon Illumination sect, it was obvious she was very confident in her strength. Otherwise, she would not act so recklessly. Junior brother. When Bai Li Hong saw how Duan Lingtian did not bow at the young girl and stood head and shoulders above the others, horror dawned on his face immediately. He quickly gave him a reminder. At this moment, other people had also begun to notice this. Young Miss Sir. Duan Lingtian felt a little moved in his heart when he saw how anxious Bai Li Hong was. In order to not make him worry, he nodded at the purple-clad young girl as a greeting. Bai Li Hong's face turned horrified when he saw how casual Duan Lingtian was. The others, on the other hand, especially Zhang Huo, the vice-sect leader, were taking pleasure in this situation since he felt Duan Lingtian was doomed. However, the young girl's response left them completely dumbstruck. Not bad. We have the same taste. I love wearing purple as well. Purple is the best color in the world. As for green, it's really too ugly. The young miss smiled and nodded at Duan Lingtian before looking at Zhang Huo, who was dressed in green, frowning. Why's there such a tasteless person in this world? I can't believe you're actually wearing green. The people were immediately rendered speechless. Wearing purple was equal to having a good judgment, but wearing green was tasteless. The moment Duan Lingtian heard this young girl's words, the corner of his mouth twitched violently. Other than the fact he had glanced at Zhang Huo earlier, who would think she also disliked him because he was wearing a green robe? At this moment, people began to return to their senses. The eyes that were looking at Zhang Huo contained hints of pity. Zhang Huo almost spat out blood when he heard the young girl's words. He had made up his mind to burn every single green clothing he owned when he returned to the sect. He finally understood why the young girl had chosen him. As it turned out, it was because he was wearing the color she hated. An almighty vice sect leader of Moon Illumination sect had been brutally beaten by a saint-stage saint beast just because the clothes he wore was not right. The inner court disciples could just tell how much of a commotion this news would raise when it spread in the sect. All of them were not surprised the young girl loved purple. After all, her true form was that of a gigantic purple bird. She was covered entirely in purple feathers. On the other hand, the fact that the young girl hated green made everyone feel that Zhang Huo was really unlucky. He became a victim just because of this. Whether it was Zhang Huo, Bai Li Hong or the others, all of them were thinking about throwing out all the green clothes they owned when they returned to the sect. Otherwise, it would only be a matter of time before something happened. Zhang Huo was a prime example of that. Zhang Huo did not expect the incident today would remain in the Moon Illumination sect for many years. Even after 100 years, it would still be mentioned all the time. Naturally, it had turned into a joke. This incident accompanied Zhang Wei his entire life. Even at the moment when he was about to die of old age, he still lamented about wearing green today. However, all these happened much later in the future. Just like this, the group of Moon Illumination sect's people brought the young girl, Zir, back to the sect. If they had another option, naturally, they would not bring her back. However, what other option did they have? When the people almost arrived at the Moon Illumination sect, Kai Mei had also arrived at the nest of the Mountainshade Black Markets branch in the 9 Sect Alliances district in a faraway land. The moment she arrived, she immediately went to look for the leader of the Mountainshade Black Markets branch. The Mountainshade Black Markets leader lived in a standalone mansion in the middle of the mountain. When Kai Mei entered the mansion, she acted without restraint and descended directly from the sky to the mansion's backyard as though she owned the place. It was as though the formation in the sky above the backyard had no effect on her at all. In the backyard, a majestic-looking middle-aged man who was dressed in a black robe with golden trim was originally cultivating cross-legged. However, the sudden movement caused him to open his eyes abruptly. Since he was disturbed by the movement, naturally, his face did not have an expression of joy. However, the moment he saw the source of the disturbance, the annoyed expression on his face vanished without a trace and was replaced with respect instead. Miss Mayor, the black-robed middle-aged man stood up abruptly and bowed at Kai Mei respectfully. The courtesy he showed Kai Mei was sincere. If this scene was witnessed by the people from the Mountainshade Black Market, they would be shocked and find this hard to believe. The leader of their Mountainshade Black Markets branch in the 9 Sect Alliances district, the person with the highest position, actually showed such a manner in front of Kai Mei, a quasi-4-star assassin. At this moment, facing Kai Mei, the Mountainshade Black Markets branch's leader acted as though he was facing his superior. In the face of the leader of the Mountainshade Black Markets branch, Kai Mei's gaze was cold as she said nonchalantly, "Call off the mission regarding the Moon Illumination sect's disciple Duan Lingtian. I have some use for him." Sure. Upon hearing her words, he did not ask any question and immediately agreed to it. Moreover, he immediately walked out of the mansion to pass down his order as soon as she left. 1 hour later, the Operations Center of Mountainshade Black Market in Han River City received this order. Call off the mission of killing the Moon Illumination sect's disciple, Duan Lingtian. When Yin Yang received this order, he thought he had heard it wrong. He only realized he did not hear wrongly after confirming it twice. Not only that, but the order was personally issued by the leader of the Mountainshade Black Markets branch. Don't tell me Kai Mei has also failed. Tai Wu frowned. It's possible. Yin Yang nodded before a hint of doubt appeared on his face again. However, even if Kai Mei has failed, there's no reason for leader to pass down this order at all. Kai Mei is merely a quasi 4-star assassin. We have many 4-star and even quasi 5-star assassins in our branch. Moreover, leader's strength is equivalent to a 5-star assassin. Yin Yang found the entire thing strange. Perhaps there's some powerhouse supporting Duan Lingtian in the dark, and leader's giving that powerhouse face, Tai Wu speculated. This seems like the only plausible reason. Yin Yang nodded. Apart from this, he could not come up with another plausible reason. Tai Wu's eyes gleamed as he said, right now, I'm really curious about this Duan Lingtian from the Moon Illumination sect. Tai Wu's strength was at the quasi 5-star assassin stage in the Mountain Shade Black Market. Tai Wu, you can't be reckless. This is an order given personally by the leader. You should know his temper. Everyone who dares to go against his order will not have a good ending. Yin Yang quickly reminded when he heard Tai Wu's words. Relax. I only said I'm curious about him. I don't have any intention of making a move, Tai Wu replied. When he thought of the leader of the Mountain Shade Black Market's branch, a hint of dread could be seen in his eyes. When he had just come to the branch, he had defeated most of the Saint Stage powerhouses. Only one of them came to a draw with him. However, in the end, the other person made such a mighty move and defeated him in just a blow. He was defeated to the point that he willingly accepted it. The person who defeated him in just one blow was none other than the leader of the Mountain Shade Black Market's branch in the 9 Sect Alliances district. Soon after, the mission that Lu Huan had given to the Mountain Shade Black Market was called off. Meanwhile, Duan Lingtian and the others had also arrived at the Moon Illumination sect. When the young girl with the true form of a Super Saint Beast Purple Cloud Thunder Rock left Duan Lingtian's sight, he heaved a sigh of relief. Although the young girl was friendly toward him, he felt a hint of dread whenever he remembered the fact that she could easily kill him with her strength. I wonder if the few Saint Stage powerhouses in our sect will be able to defeat her, Duan Lingtian thought to himself. His heart was filled with curiosity.